Alright, hello and welcome back to the second edition of the Battle for Humanity here. We are going straight back into another bot game. This was the second game I played in the Meta AI tournament. And I'm here once again with Ezio to commentate it. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
Alright, so I was playing Germany in this game. The bot shall remain unknown for the moment, but because Ezio is so good at guessing who it is, what we're going to do this time around is we'll go until the end of 1903 with Ezio making predictions about the bot, and then after 1903 I will just say who the bot is, and we'll go from there knowing about it. So yeah, you've got 3 years to lock down who the bot is if you're playing along in the comments, and Ezio has 3 years to figure it out.
Yeah,
Are there any
I'm just gonna
moves?
say, I think this one's gonna be tough.
Are
Because
there?
everyone in this game did super standard, just nothing was a little bit odd about this opening.
Absolutely, yep. We even have down here. So, interestingly, in Gunboat, right? Something that I think we mention every single time, but people don't realize when they first think about Gunboat, is there is a fair bit of random negotiation that you get just with people throwing supports at other people. So here we have Venice support hold Trieste off the bat, which is like a
Yeah.
nice way to say, hey, Austria, I'm on your side, and then you just walk into Trieste next turn, right?
It's the most terrifying thing as Austria, because if they hold, God, I hate it when they throw this support hold at me. I hate it.
Yep, because move to Tyrolia or move to Piedmont. I mean, Tyrolia is still nerve-wracking, obviously, because it can go to Vienna as well. But you're less worried about a move to Tyrolia than you are about this hold right here, I think. Because the hold quite often is pretext for I'm gonna walk into Trieste next turn, and I just want an excuse to stay here. Yeah. But of course it is the safe move, because Austrias do occasionally open with the hedgehog, and when you go to Piedmont and you try and Lepanto, having a fleet in Venice is a little annoying. But yeah, so nothing else stands out to you on this board then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, these are, I think, every other country made the most popular moves for all of their countries. And
There's
even these moves from Italy are pretty standard. Like, it's not that unusual.
Yeah, I'd say there's a bit of debate on the French moves there.
Yep.
You would usually see something like Marseille supporting the move to Burgundy, but this is fine. It allows for the fleet to go to Spain's south coast instead of Portugal next turn, which gives a little bit of flexibility on whether France wants to go south or north. Yeah.
Yep. It's. I think that you're right. I think recently the support to Burgundy has taken over in popularity, but as of like 5 years ago, in every gunboat game, this was super standard for France also. But whatever. Let's go to the fall, because that's when we might actually see something and figure out sort of what's going on in this game.
Gotcha. Yep. So let's have a look, see if the fall is any more interesting than the spring. And
Oh, was it?
yeah, it was. It was a fair bit more interesting. Where
This
do
is
you
a
want to look
gunboat
at?
game?
This is a gunboat game, yes.
Wow.
Which move are you looking at specifically? There's a
North
couple-
Sea supports Road to Belgium. That move is shocking.
Yep.
Because Ruhr was not guaranteed to go to Belgium by any stretch. Any stretch.
Yep.
And let's envision the world where Ruhr covers Munich instead. Suddenly, England has pissed off the French by attempting to support Germany against them, and France walks into Belgium and gets 3 builds.
Yep.
Yeah. But instead, this is fine. It's a really good start for a potential EG. And not optimal start, obviously, because you would hope that Germany would have bounced Russia out of Sweden, but it's still a solid start. I mean, it shows that England certainly wants to work together.
Yeah.
The other one that's odd, though, is Serbia supporting Ukraine to Romania. This
That
one I think was a much more reasonable guess, right? It's much more likely that Ukraine goes into Romania. It just has the real cost of not being able to support Albania to Greece, and oh no!
Yep. And like Russia is going to get this through to Romania most likely regardless. There is the possibility that Russia will want to continue bouncing on Black Sea and just go in with one. In which case Turkey could have bounced Romania out. But like if that happens as Austria, you're kind of fine with that. Because then you can throw the support on the Russian unit next turn if you want to ally with Russia and you have Greece. And you can just squeeze out the Turk. Or you can align yourself with the Turk, not generally as good an idea in Gunboat, I think, but like this support right here this turn, it doesn't seem very worthwhile, especially not at the cost of a supply center.
Yeah, and in fact, I think you would rather, if since Austria needed to cover Trieste, I think Austria is actively unhappy that there is a Russian army in Romania now, because now there's two on Budapest and Vienna's vacant.
Yes,
So
and Austria has one build, which is yeah, they really needed that build from Greece here if they were going to give up to Galicia. I think the move to Trieste is absolutely fine. It blocks the potential Italian move in that we were talking about last turn, but if you're doing it, you do want to get the double build to solidify your line on the other side. Yeah, this is not a good start for the Austrian.
yeah,
Needless
this
to
is
say.
terrifying.
Yeah, I did want to say briefly on the Belgium front here. You did mention it already, right? The possibility that Ruhr goes back to Munich and the English have just made an enemy. I think actually that's a lot more likely than this support working, even because most of the time I see this opening, I see this France in Burgundy. You see Germany go back to Munich because the downside of going to Belgium and then France just going into Munich behind you is seriously painful, right? Um, and, you know, if you do go to Belgium and they go to Belgium as well, 99% of the time it's a bounce here. You don't see the English supporting the move. So, yeah, it's kind of amazing that that worked out. It's definitely a good start for England Germany here.
Potentially, again, it's not ideal for the EG alliance because Russia did get into Sweden and Romania, so there are two builds available for Russia. One of them is frequently going to be in St. Pete, so the EG doesn't have free reign over Sweden. But I think Germany's happy getting three builds.
Yep,
So
absolutely. And yeah, I was Germany in this game. It was a while ago, so I don't remember everything that happened. But yes, I'm fairly certain I would have been very happy with this first year result. Um, Anything else you want to talk about here, or shall we move on?
I really like this move into Tyrolia in the fall as Italy because you open yourself up to the ability to build in Venice and take Trieste if things look like this in particular.
Yep.
Um, I'm incredibly tempted in this position to say, oh, Austria is actually just dead now, and then I will convoy back my army from Tunis, and then just say, all right, sucks to be you, Austria, but good luck. Build in Venice, go for Trieste, maybe go for Vienna instead, and then take Trieste in the fall. Some guesswork like that, but here as Italy, I think Austria's going to die, and I know that attacking Austria is frequently signing your death warrant, but it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a good time to go for a Lepanto.
It's like usually the problem with attacking Austria is that the Russia Turkey gains too much out of it, right? But if the Russia Turkey is already gaining a ton out of it, and that's what it looks to be here, or at least Russia is going to make significant progress, you kind of want a piece of the pie before Austria falls. There's no point
Yeah,
just stonewalling until France hits you from behind, right?
yeah, or they literally just take Tyrolia and then beat you through Austria. Like
Yep.
You're going to make literally nothing in this position if you just like build a fleet Naples, try to go for Lepanto, get bounced a few turns, Austria loses Budapest, Serbia, and it's like, okay, sure, that game is over. Your options are either to prop up Austria while you stab France and you try to get as much as you can. Oh, wait a minute, France is a fleet, south coast Spain, army in Portugal, getting 2 builds. It's going to be tough to get a build out of France. Germany's getting 3 builds, it's not going to take Munich. Where do you get your next build from? It's not going to be Smyrna, it's got to be Trieste, so.
Yep. Well,
Yep, that's all. That's what I want to talk about.
All right. Well, shall we see if Italy makes that build?
No, he didn't.
No,
They didn't. Italy did not make that build.
Italy goes for fleet Naples, so they're deciding to stick with the Austrian. That's not uncommon, right? You do get quite a lot of Italy's just wanting to stick with Austria no matter what, because that's kind of what's drilled into you as a as a diplomacy player. Don't attack Austria, but under certain circumstances, it can be quite good. And then, of course, we see.
Well, I don't know about good, though. It can be forced. Like, it can be your only viable play. And I think this position is one of those positions. But we'll see. Maybe this Italy can get a couple guesses in, get into Eastern Med, luckily, or a GNC, and then potentially just get into the other, right? It's possible you can make progress here. It's just.
Yeah.
Are you going to make enough progress before Austria dies? Is the real question.
Yeah. That is the question indeed. And of course, in the north, we see a lot of fleet builds here. Well, a fair few. We've got the 2 that you'd expect from an England-Germany alliance, although I'm not sure how good Fleet Liverpool is here. Like, Fleet London feels... Well, Fleet Liverpool is just better if you're moving North Sea to English Channel, right? But if you want to keep something defending North Sea, it would be best to put Fleet in London.
Yeah, this move feels more like England is just trying to really tell Germany, I'm attacking France. I don't think that was strictly necessary. I think in this position, actually, England could have built a fleet in London, and then Germany would have assumed England was attacking France, and then England just walks into the hug and would bite. Unopposed, but no, that didn't happen. I think Liverpool was really just England saying, Germany, I'm attacking France. You pick your side, buddy.
Yep. And, of course, Fleet Berlin is usually a pretty strong signal that Germany wants to work with England too. And then we have Fleet St. Petersburg North Coast, which is a sign that Russia wants to work with Germany as well. Or at least wants to work against England. But if you want to be defensive, right, you would usually want to put down an army there, because fleet is a lot less flexible. Army is what you use if you want to just make sure you're securing Sweden and Norway. Fleet is what you put down if you want to try and push further.
Yep, we talked about this a lot the last one. Actually, this Fleet St. Pete North Coast.
We did.
And I think an army is better in this position too. This one is a much better fleet than the previous one, because this fleet has an army in Moscow to back it up. And so you can move it into the Barents Sea while Moscow moves into St. Pete and get your 3 on Norway relatively easily. Like, it's feasible. I mean, Army St. Pete still can go to Finland and then get 3 on Norway, but it's not where you... Whatever. It's a fine build. Russia wants to pressure the north. That's fine. Really, I think it's going to be about Budapest, Serbia, Vienna, what's he going to do, but unclear.
Yep.
It's a different tack than I would have taken as Russia, of course, but whatever, it's fine. Let's see how EG works, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead to spring of 1902 here. And Russia does go for Norway, but not in the way we were thinking, not getting 3 around it, just pushing straight into Norway, and it works.
Straight YOLO.
Yeah. Although it does leave it in a bit of an interesting position, because now that fleet in St. Petersburg North Coast is even more trapped, right? You kind of wanted that to get into Norway. Although it can at least support Hold Norway, so...
Yeah, it can support Hold Norway this turn. Sweden was lost anyways, so... it makes some sense. I mean, again, if you're just holding here, you probably wanted an army there because that army can eventually move to Livonia, cover Warsaw, whatever. But oh well, this is what we're doing. Oh man, I just looked at this out.
I'm gonna
Oh
get to
man,
that in a second. Like the North is very. It's not
yeah,
exactly standard, but it's a very standard EG here. France just trying to pull in the Italian unit into Munich, saying, "Please help me." You know, there's an EG happening. We need to slow this down. And Russia doing their best to disrupt and to get their fleet out of Sweden here. But yeah, that's pretty much most of what there is to say about the North. Whereas the South, the South is insane.
oh man, yeah,
Let's set aside the fact that Black Sea supported Constantinople to Bulgaria for no apparent reason since they
well,
moved
yeah,
the other way.
yeah,
And that didn't need a support anyway if they were moving the other way. So
yep,
I have a feeling that this order was maybe placed down when Turkey was thinking about a different order set, and then they switched things around.
yeah.
But I don't see why you do this ever. Bulgaria back when you have the advantage over Greece slash Serbia, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, Russia threw in the support for Bulgaria to Serbia,
Which would have
so
worked.
that would have just crushed.
And then you look at what's happening on the Austrian front, and it's even more insane.
Yeah, because these moves from Turkey could easily have consigned Turkey to a really bad position because they were about to lose the GNC, and the way that they moved, Turkey had the potential to have their fleet in the Aegean Sea disbanded, which would have been awful because they would have had to just build another army in Ankara, and they would have been in order to defend Smyrna, and then they would have been a 3 army, 1 fleet Turkey.
Yep.
It was potentially terrifying, or maybe not even get to rebuild the fleet because they lose Bulgaria, but it was just potentially awful for Turkey. They still might get their fleet disbanded, but their only saving grace is that Austria decided they didn't care about defending Vienna or Budapest.
Yep, they're just going all out for Venice. And to be fair, it's going to work. They're going to get Venice. It would have been incredible if Austria had just walked Trieste into Venice here and then followed it up, but obviously that wasn't guaranteed. But leaving your entire backline open to do this
Yeah.
seems
The
very
hope here, I
questionable.
think, is that Galicia and Bohemia both walk into Vienna.
Yeah, or you hope that Russia takes this as a big sign of friendship and just sticks with you. But why would Russia do that when they've got?
But Russia ever sticks with an Austria in the long run.
Well, I mean, you don't need it in the long run. If you can pick up the Venice and Rome, before Russia stabs you, then you're set. But like, you're not
Yeah, yeah,
going
yeah.
to. Russia is going to walk in.
I would assume so, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so sucks to be Italy. I mean, yeah, my approach of just like building the army in Venice, we wouldn't have lost Venice to the Austrian here. Um,
yep.
and this is, but I can't, really hard to say, right? That's good. I mean, again, I said it before these moves, but man, this is awful.
Yeah,
Is Italy dead now? I think Italy's dead now.
Italy may well be dead. They've got no way to defend Venice. If they convoy back from Tunis, then they're going to have to keep that fleet in the Eastern Mediterranean, which is awful.
I mean, they're going to be going down one, so they might as well disband the fleet in the Eastern Mediterranean. Although, man, that army in Bohemia is useless for defense.
Yeah, it's very debatable which of Eastern Mediterranean Army Tunis or Army Bohemia are more useless, right? Um,
Yeah, none of them do anything.
you've got to hope that Army Bohemia can just walk into Vienna. But
Yeah,
Austria
but I
doesn't
mean,
need the support
no,
into
they can just
Venice,
walk into
so they
Venice.
can just walk back and defend it, right?
Yeah, no, this is
Yeah.
great. Okay, and then
Okay.
France, the standard defensive stuff. I'm sure to try to get into Burgundy failed, but Germany's position still approved. Holland's in room.
Yeah.
You think England's going to walk into Holland? Because there's not a chance, but England could walk into Holland.
England could absolutely walk into Holland here, and they kind of need the build, right? Because they're putting 3 fleets on a front where they're unlikely to get anything, and they just lost Norway.
Well, they can disband their army in Finland. It's England.
Yeah,
You put
but
that army in Norway to get it disbanded. That's fine.
then they'd be disbanding the army Finland plus with 2 Russian fleets right behind them and all of their
That's
fleets
true.
lined up on the French border. That
Yep.
feels bad. This is kind of the problem when you're England attacking France, right? You can't really commit when you're on 4 units here because one of those units is an army that gets isolated in Scandinavia. If you line up 3 fleets on the French front, you're on a front where you're not gaining anything for ages. So you have to just hope that Germany puts you into St. Petersburg or Sweden, and that's not going to happen in a in a gunboat game. So I usually think that the better strategy as England is to send something to Barents or, well, try and get St. Petersburg at the same time as blockading the French front, and then send your new build to the French front instead.
Yeah, it's just tough to get enough units to do that, but I completely agree. I try not to piss off France until I've locked down St. Pete. I try not to.
Yeah, but this England committed very, very early.
Very early, while Russia was still a thing. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I don't like this England's play, but whatever. It's very much a style where people in gunboat really value getting their alliance set quickly, and obviously to everyone at the board. That's not how I like to play, but I mean, if they picked a good ally, then it could be great. So,
Yeah.
should we go to the falls, see
Yeah.
how well the alliance works for England? Because my assumption is you're just going to get all the builds in the world.
This does seem like a decent assumption. Let's have a look at fall 1902 here. It's not a good assumption, as it turns out.
Okay.
Yeah.
They cut Denmark and moved back into Sweden.
Yeah.
They assumed you weren't going to move into Sweden?
That
In a
just
full
seems
press game,
weird.
okay. Right? There are moves that can be made here. Plays can happen. Because yeah. But in a gunboat game, every time Germany puts their fleets in Denmark and Baltic, they're gonna take Sweden. Just every time.
Absolutely. And, I remember thinking at the time, maybe England, was trying to get me to go to Sweden from Denmark so that they could pick up a build. And, it's weird because the Germany doesn't take Sweden from that direction very often. That seems fairly unlikely. But at least if you throw something like Finland support Denmark to Sweden, you're at least saying, okay, I really need a build here, Germany, please, here, I'll help you in Scandinavia, you just give me a build right now and we can keep working together on the French front, right? But bouncing Sweden at the same time as going to Denmark, all that's doing is giving Russia an extra unit. That's just...
What did they do with Norway last turn?
I did not actually check. I will go and check.
Norway support Sweden?
Yeah, Norway support hold Sweden. I missed that completely.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, I don't like how this thing was played. That's fine. Hey, let's put all of our eggs in the basket of Germany's going to be our friend, and then let's stop Germany from getting a build. In the meantime, Russia's going +2. Because they got Norway, didn't lose Sweden, and they took Budapest. That's great. That's lovely.
Yep.
Austria is going +1. Venice and Greece minus Bud. Just look at their build in Trieste. Oh, I hope it's a fleet in Trieste. just a big F you to Italy. For kind of no reason.
And amazingly, Italy just decides, tally-ho, I've decided to go off I've decided to do this Lepanto. I don't care what's happening at home. I'm going to do this Lepanto.
Convoying this army to Tunis was a great move. Such a great move, in fact, I'm going to disband it immediately. Because in this position, clearly the army Tunis is the disband. Italy's betting that Austria is not going to walk Venice into Rome.
Yes.
$20.
This is
Twenty
kind of...
bucks.
So,
Venice to Rome.
Italy's play here has to be... Well, the only thing that makes sense from this position is Italy's going to Austria. You know, you're Austria. You don't want a strong Turkey. These two fleets I've got can contain Turkey, they can take centres. You should leave me alone so I can just push into Turkey myself. We can maybe mend this alliance and push forward, right?
Yeah. Well, see, in a full press game, I absolutely believe all of these things are being said. You're completely right. I think that's a great pitch. In a gunboat game, Austria's going to be looking at this and saying, okay, Italy, great. You can't do anything against me. You're going to disband your army in Tunis. Your army in Bohemia is useless against me. So I'm just going to go and take Rome. You're going to disband something, probably your army in Bohemia, and then I'm just going to keep building and keep going. This is great.
Yep.
This is insane.
Interestingly, this kind of has worked out okay for Austria from a pretty terrible position on the last turn. They could have even managed to disband the Turkish fleet here if Greece had gone to Bulgaria instead, but obviously that was fairly unlikely. You much prefer sending Serbia in.
Yeah, I mean, this is a position where you can kind of predict the moves from Turkey, because Turkey is really only going to do this ever. Like, Aegean still wouldn't have been disbanded because Smyrna was vacated, but you'd rather the fleet be in Smyrna, I think, than in Constantinople, but...
Yeah, I think there was a possibility of, like, Ionian support Aegean to Greece, or Aegean support Ionian to Greece. Probably more likely Ionian support Aegean to Greece if Italy is very angry about Venice. But, like, this order set isn't good against that either. If you're expecting that, you want to do Serbia support hold Greece.
Yep. That didn't happen.
Yeah. It's certainly an interesting setup in the south here. What do you make of the retreat to Constantinople instead of Smyrna here?
I think it doesn't really matter because Syria is probably going to be supporting Khan to Smyrna.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then Black Sea...
I think it's probably like a little bit worse, because I think Smyrna means you can support Black Sea to Khan while support holding Smyrna. And like in this position, I don't think Turkey needs or wants the Black Sea really. But again, I don't think it matters that much here. It probably is slightly better to go one way or the other. That I would have to look at it a little more closely to figure out. But
yeah, it's possible that Turkey just wants Black Sea since Russia is getting quite strong here.
I mean, 2 more builds, yeah.
Yeah, and as long as you have Black Sea, it's really hard for Russia to get that fleet out of Sebastopol to like force into Black Sea and stab Turkey. So it's like a thing that costs a little bit, you know, keeping a fleet there permanently, but it keeps the other person under control, even if they are your ally.
Yep.
Shall we go on to the builds?
Sure.
Okay, I remember something that happened in this game that shocked me, so I...
Oh, Italy disbanded Bohemia, right?
Yep, that's
just the worst disband in the world. Absolutely awful.
Yep.
The army in Tunis is the worst army in the game.
Don't you want to end up as that one unit Italy with just army Tunis? Nothing you can do.
No, I don't. But yeah, so that army Tunis, right? Like, we can analyze this from so many different perspectives. The simplest one: Army Tunis can move one place into North Africa, and it can hold Tunis. Therefore, it can only support units into North Africa or be support held in Tunis. Army Bohemia has 5 adjacent territories, meaning it can move into any one of those 5, and it can support anything into any of those 5 territories, of which there are like 20. I don't know the actual number of units that are adjacent to Munich, Silesia, Galicia, Vienna, and Tirol that aren't Bohemia, but there's a crap ton of them. Plus, they include each other. Yep. Bohemia is a very, very good unit. It's border 2 supply centers. It's crazy strong.
I mean, it's not that good because all of those supply centers are covered, but it's much better than Tunis. That's easy to say.
I think Army Bohemia on this board was one of the most dynamic units on the board.
It's easy to be dynamic when there's nothing when you can't actually
Exactly.
defend yourself, right?
Exactly. And so it can just like randomly walk into Silesia in Galicia. It can just support Budapest into Vienna. It could attack Vienna. It can mess with Munich and stop Germany against France for some reason. It can do so many things. And instead we kept Tunis.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. Worst disband ever. Russia used its builds, Austria used its builds, great. Fine.
So I wonder whether the idea here is, oh, Tunis is something I can actually convoy back to the Italian peninsula and defend myself with. Bohemia, I'll never get back with.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
the issue with that is if Austria goes like Venice to Rome and Trieste to Venice here, something along those lines, you have to cover Naples. You have no other option because otherwise you're just dead, right? You lose everything on that
Yeah, and
peninsula.
you could like convoy back to Naples or whatever, and
You
then
can
just
convoy
still
back to
it's great.
Naples to block, and
Yeah,
then
and then
your
you're still
your
there.
army stays in Tunis, and it's exactly the same as if you covered it from
Well, you're gonna
Ionia.
lose the center next year, so you can disband it next year. See, and then your army will have sat and done nothing until you disbanded it. It's whatever. Okay,
Yes.
this was a terrible decision. Italy made a mistake, and that's fine.
Okay. England takes Finland off the board as you expected.
Yep.
Russia builds the only two builds they can. They're not waving, which is fine, I suppose. And then
And the
Austria
armies are
doesn't build the
great.
fleet. Very sad. But this makes more sense than the fleet.
Yep. Okay, so
Oh,
let's go to the spring.
power rankings. Power rankings. We got to do
Oh,
them.
power
They're
rankings.
in a random
Okay,
order
yeah.
right
So
now.
like, Russia is clearly number one. Italy is clearly last.
Yes, agreed on
Glad we got
both.
those out of the way. England is clearly second to last.
Yeah,
Great.
3 units, and they're all in spots that don't really gain them anything. Plus, they
And
just
there are
stab the
6
German
hostile northern
essentially.
fleets.
Yeah, not good. Um,
So,
so
yeah, England is doing terribly. So then the rest of them are all tougher. Like, is Turkey stronger than Austria here? Potentially, because Russia is less likely to make progress against Turkey here. But Turkey's got to deal with the hostile fleets. But how long are those hostile fleets going to be around? Probably just a year, and then Turkey's just going to be safe and able to grow again. Um,
I think I'd put Turkey above Austria pretty much every time here, just because if the Italian fleets were actually hostile, it would change things. But I don't see a world where they don't go back to Ionian this
so
time.
here's my counter argument, though. Austria's going to gain like 3 centers next year.
Oh yeah, that that is a fair point. And if Italy just decides, hey, you know what, I'm already dead. I'm gonna leave my army in Tunis and just keep attacking Smyrna. um,
Yeah, but it's like let's even say Italy tries to defend Naples, right? So let's say Italy pulls Aegean to Ionia with support from Eastern Med, and then convoys back to Naples, right? If Austria this turn just sends Venice to Rome and then Rome to Naples, that Rome to Naples is going to be in the fall, of course. But then in the spring, if let's just say Serbia to Romania, Vienna support Trieste to Budapest, they just have recaptured Budapest,
yeah, that would work.
and then they're getting Budapest and Naples, and okay, Bulgaria in this line to guarantee Budapest, we had to cut Romania, so we weren't able to tap Bulgaria. But then in the fall, we can use Budapest to cut Romania, and then we can tap Bulgaria, and suddenly Turkey's maneuvering is tight because Black Sea needs to support Bulgaria, then Khan goes to Aegean, and like I don't know. I think it's potentially tough. I think I would still rather play Turkey if I'm trying to like have the highest chance to make it into the draw. I think Turkey's a much safer bet than that. Really, Turkey's more likely to make it into the draw than Austria. News at 5. 11-11. But Austria has a much better chance to solo just because if Austria gets big, takes Budapest, if like God, I was gonna say if Germany attacks Russia at some point, because Russia is now the board leader, right? And so Germany might make moves. Then I look at it, the only potential aggressive move Germany could make is Munich to Silesia, and Russia
Yeah,
built in Warsaw. There's nothing in Kiel to convoy anywhere, so or move to Prussia, so I don't actually think that's likely. It's just you're going to be at war. You kind of just have to hope then that Russia makes mistakes and like Warsaw goes to Galicia or Ukraine goes to Galicia, so you disband Budapest. But then your position's actually just fine as Austria.
you do only get one build that way because you're kind of stuck in with Trieste as the only place that you can keep
No,
open.
no, 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 no,
Um,
no, no, no. Serbia supports Budapest, Vienna, Bohemia. Galicia's never going to
yeah,
tap Vienna.
you sure? Yeah, okay,
We
I
we
could
can look
see
at that
that.
when
I
we get
could
there in
see
the
that.
fall, right? When we get
Yeah,
there in the fall, we can look at the moves and see the position on the board. But you can just walk out of your centers, man. Keep them open. It's fine.
yeah. I definitely like from my own perspective. I would definitely rather be playing Turkey here. Um, but I don't disagree
Yeah.
that
I
like
think this being gunboat helps Austria tremendously
yeah, because
because it's way, way harder. Yeah.
Russia, and Turkey would all probably be collaborating on just destroying Austria right here if it was
Yeah.
not
In,
gunboat.
in a not gunboat game, I would not be surprised at all if Bulgaria supports Aegean to Greece, expecting Eastern Med to Ionian, and then like Romania supports Budapest to Serbia to go with it. And then like our moves to try to get you back into Budapest just fail miserably. And then I would think Austria would just be completely dead if it wasn't a gunboat game, but it's a gunboat game, so I think Austria's okay.
Yeah, I will say I would rather be France or Germany than either of them. Um,
Sure.
this East doesn't feel like a great place to be if you're not Russia right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's fair. The problem is that I think if then France has to just be second place because France.
Yeah, especially given that, like, I think if the EG had held, Germany would probably be second here. But the
Yeah, of
fact
course.
that, I mean, Germany does have a free build out of Sweden here, right? As long as
Okay,
England stops
but
tapping Denmark. Um,
but Germany's got to contend with a Russia that just built two armies in Warsaw and Moscow and potentially doesn't have to worry about the south for much longer.
yes, and
So
I,
Berlin is about to hit pressure.
as England, I'd be mighty tempted just to either walk into Holland or support into Belgium here and get
Or
a
just move into
build.
Helgoland.
Yeah, that would also work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right,
But
so
let's see. Let's see what happens.
so wait, then we're putting Russia first, France second,
Yeah.
Germany third,
That's
then
Germany, Turkey,
Turkey, Austria,
Austria,
England, and
England,
Italy.
Italy.
Just very quickly
Yeah,
before
okay.
we move to the next phase, have you got any thoughts on who the bot might be so far?
Oh, it's not Turkey, definitely. It's not Italy, definitely. Um, I'm certain it's not England. We know it's not Germany because you're Germany.
Yep.
Otherwise, the bot could be Germany. I'm playing. You've been playing bot like. So that leaves what? Austria, Russia, and France.
Okay. Yep.
Interesting. That's tough because none of you guys have really done anything weird this game. I
Yeah.
think perhaps it's probably not France because France supported Tyrolia to Munich that one time in '02. And I think the bots actually no, that is definitely kind of a bot like thing to do. Kind of. It's tough to say. I would have to look more at the bot's openings to know if the bot actually plays this opening as France. But France is totally plausibly a bot. Same for Russia yet. All of the remaining ones I think Austria is probably unlikely, although dude, this is tough. I don't know. It's one of the three of them. But I don't know which one of the three of them it is.
Okay. Well, we'll be revealing that after
Oh,
1903,
it's
so
probably
you'll
not
get
Austria. Nope, it's not Austria. Not
because of the
Austria.
Serbia
Scratch
support
that.
Ukraine to Romania, or
Yes,
yeah.
not Austria. Great. So now we got what? Russia or France?
Yeah, that's what you've narrowed it down to.
I don't know. I don't know. I got another year, right?
Yep. Well, shall we delay that decision until we've seen 1903 then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright. Spring 1903, let's have a look at that. Where do you want to look first here?
Let's look at the mess of the West. Nothing happens. Great.
Absolutely nothing,
All bounce.
yes.
All bounces.
Interestingly, I
Great. Now let's look
think
at the North.
English
Sorry,
Channel
what?
actually does support Belgium into Picardy, or attempts to here, which matches the German order, but Paris support Picardy, plus the cut on Burgundy just about saves it. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Stuff almost happened, but nothing happened.
Yes. Uh, and these were quite nice moves from France. I think in France's case, I would probably have wanted to support Picardy down with 2 instead to try and blow up that Burgundian unit, but it's kind of a guess anyway, based on whether Burgundy's going to be support held or not. But yeah, so let's have a look at the. So if we look at the north here, Scandinavia, Germany gets into Sweden. It's weird saying Germany gets into Sweden when I know it's me, but that's that's kind of the way we're doing this, right? And Russia repositions to try and take it back. Except that's not going to work right now unless England's on side, right? They need England to cut Denmark. They do have the possibility of dropping an army into Finland and then pressuring it next turn, but then they will have already lost the centre. So the only move that happens on the continent in the west is Munich to Silesia, which was, as you said, it was the one thing Germany could do. And I do remember the reason for this was just because I was worried that Warsaw to Silesia was too much of a possibility. I did not expect it to actually go, but it did. So I am there now.
Yeah, and I think you're pretty happy about that. Like, just you're annoying. Galicia's now got to cover Warsaw.
Yep.
So you can just, like, walk into Prussia. I mean,
yeah.
Or stay in Silesia for all we care, because then they can't build in Warsaw. So I think you're really happy that you made this move to Silesia. But now let's keep moving our eyes further south, okay?
Yep. Down we go. And this move, Warsaw to Silesia, should really have been the Russian move here, because Warsaw to Galicia, especially when you're not support holding Budapest at all, or trying to hold it, it just guarantees that you're going to lose Budapest or get it blown up. And that's exactly what happens. It's not quite in the same way as you were predicting. Serbia tap Romania with the support. But it gives the same result.
Yeah, this move from Austria was a next level play, where Austria's move hard counters Romania support Budapest to Serbia, and Romania support Budapest to Serbia hard countered the initial suggestion that I made.
Yes.
And so this was third level, but ultimately, because Bulgaria supported Romania, all of the moves would have gone the exact same way here.
Yes, absolutely. And this is the, yeah.
Notably, if Bulgaria didn't support Romania to Serbia, then the moves that I suggested would have kept Serbia, and we would have still disbanded Budapest, whereas these moves would have let the army into Serbia. But as is, nothing mattered.
Yeah. Of course, the issue now is that even if you do
take the Russian army in Serbia and everything is around Budapest.
Yep. Even if you do take Rome here and get the extra build without losing anything, because you're going to go plus Budapest minus Serbia as well, you've got nowhere to put it, because you kind of have to double support Budapest here. You can try and push Vienna out into Galicia, but then you probably lose Budapest again. So, actually, it would be better to try and push Serbia into Trieste into Serbia, right? But then you probably still lose Budapest. It's a bit of a guessing game.
Budapest, with them taking from Serbia, you don't really care, because you're still getting your build, right? You're still going +1 in Rome.
Your army gets disbanded, right? The one in Budapest, and so you...
Well, or it retreats to Trieste and then covers the building spot.
Yeah. So you don't really get your build. It's a question of what do you
Taken from Serbia is rough, man. Man, I take it back. Yeah, there was a pretty big distinction, because this line, the way that my line would have played out, you would retreat to Albania, not Trieste. Whereas this line... It's essentially like you retreat to Trieste instead.
Yes.
And now you can't build anything?
Now you kind of have to order Vienna support hold Budapest, Trieste support hold Budapest.
Yeah, and that's not going to go well. Actually, no you don't. Because Galicia's moving back to Warsaw.
Oh, yeah, because Munich is in Silesia. There's nothing else adjacent, right? Ukraine moved away, Moscow moved away.
So you can order Vienna to Galicia, Or no, Vienna to Bohemia. Trieste supports Budapest. Vienna to Bohemia. It's legit. It works.
It's
I called it.
your
I'm
exact
psyched.
order set. Oh boy.
Yeah, easy. I moved to Silesia, saved Austria here. And I think as Germany, you're really happy about that. I think you want Austria to just hold for as long as possible so you can get your position against Russia.
Yes.
Get your another build, Army Berlin. Yeah, I think this was a really good move into Silesia. Great defense by France. But yeah, okay, so that's the move, right? We just have it. Vienna to Bohemia. Problem solved.
Like, weirdly, that is an amazing order set here. Like, basically everything I was saying about Bohemia being potentially bad, it's completely negated by German Army Silesia and the fact that this Russian army in Budapest got blown up. Yeah.
Great.
But yes, so, and then
Okay,
further south,
Italy.
Italy should have absolutely supported Aegean to Ionian instead of Eastern Med to Ionian, right? This was 100% predictable.
Well, this is much worse for Turkey.
Yeah.
And Italy's only losing one center either way. It's just now Naples is probably being lost next year also. This one army from Austria is going to have taken Venice, Rome, and Naples. And whenever
Yeah.
one army can take 3 centers and hold them, it's kind of the greatest coup.
Yes, absolutely. And it's like a 1 dot stab, but it's a very spread out, like 1 dot a year stab. It's
Yeah.
just, they're not going to be able to get back and defend it because they left Army Tunis on. Well, even then, even if they had left Army Bohemia on, they wouldn't have been able to defend this. But like,
Well, it could have
they
gone to it could have gone to Tyrolia, and then it could have tapped Venice, and then suddenly Austria has to guess: do they stay in Rome or do they cover Venice?
yes, that's true. Well, yeah. But this over here, I think this was very predictable. You had the possibility of Constantinople support Syria to Smyrna, but I'd say 9 times out of 10 Turkey moves Constantinople to Aegean here. Italy, if you're trying to retake Ionian, you should support yourself from Aegean, not from Eastern Mediterranean.
Yeah, I think here Italy was trying to take Greece.
Oh, yeah, that's actually... That would work.
I think Italy was betting that Turkey wasn't willing to just lose Smyrna to Eastern Med, support Aegean to Smyrna. And so Italy said, okay, Turkey is going to cover Smyrna, and I'm going to position myself, take Greece, we'll be friends with Italy, and, excuse me, Italy's thinking they will be friends with Turkey, but that didn't happen, so yikes.
It would have been quite funny if this order set Italy had just gone to Smyrna. It would have been very nice for the Austrian, of course. But
Would have been amazing
yeah.
for the Austrian, because that stupid army Tunis would stay on the board.
Yes. And Austria would just be able to walk into Naples with Ionian Sea while holding Rome with the army. But yeah.
And then you're right, Tunis would no longer stay on the board, thankfully.
Well, you never know. Maybe Italy would think I'm more likely to survive with Army Tunis than I am with Fleet Smyrna, which is probably true, to be honest.
No
it's
way.
just more boring.
No way.
Sure,
Fleet Smyrna can retreat into Aegean. Fleets
yeah,
in the Aegean Sea don't die.
they don't, but they can lose all their supply centers, right? And
That's
if Austria
true.
had gone into Naples with the fleet, then they could just go straight to Tunis with that fleet. Austria's probably not going to get a second fleet on the board anytime soon, so
Ever.
yeah. So Army Tunis actually has a decent shot of surviving, I think.
Sure, whatever, man. That's fine.
But yeah, shall we go ahead
Let's
to the...
go to the fall.
Yep, fall 1903. Alright. Where do you want to look at? I guess the south is very, very simple.
Sure. Austria did not see our glory.
They did not, and they miss out on a build because of it. Thankfully, they do take the center anyway, so they get rid of one of those Italian units, but that's probably going to be Army Tunis now that Italy actually is back in Ionian. Um, and yeah, all of this, like, Austria tries to support into Serbia, this could have been fairly bad if, well, no. The worst that would have happened is they just lose Budapest again, right, from Serbia, but then they take Serbia, so it's just the same position they were in before. Um, yeah,
I want to stress how important it is that Austria missed the tactic, because Austria could have had an extra build. They could just take an army from their supply and place it in Bohemia if they had followed our moves.
yes,
Um, and right now they're in a fight for their lives against a very similar number of units that are in just barely good enough positions. If they had an extra unit here, they will probably be able to force Galicia safely, and then it will take Serbia the same year. The tactics, right, is just they support Bohemia into Galicia using Vienna, and then they will use Galicia to cut Romania, while Budapest and Trieste mess with Serbia.
yep,
That's just it. That's just look. Austria's back in business. They're making progress. Maybe Austria loses Greece, but suddenly Austria just has enough units to hold. But they didn't. They don't. And so now Austria is going to be treading water. And by the way, Austria is still treading water. Their stuff is still built. It's still filled. They can't get another unit out. It's
yep,
real tough.
yeah. I mean, so I can't give them too much of a hard time because I'm pretty sure I would not have spotted that in 5 minutes. That you should move Vienna to Bohemia. Maybe I would have actually. Maybe because if I'm in the Austrian position, obviously I'm examining Austria's moves much more closely than I was as Germany. But still, I feel like your default here is just Trieste support Budapest, Vienna support Budapest. You know, there's 3 Russian armies around me. I must turtle up. But it would have absolutely been correct to just go to Bohemia here.
Really sad.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the south. Look at the north. It's neat. You tried to help North Sea into Norway.
Yep.
And if Russia had supported themselves improperly here, it would have been crippling because England would actually have gotten into Norway. Russia would have lost Sweden and Norway and Budapest, only gaining Serbia, so you'd have had to disband something else, but as is, they're still neutral because they already disbanded a unit.
Yep.
England is, of course, sad. England's advantage, they got into mid-Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
It's nice for England.
And that's because France is still trying to force disband the army in Burgundy. They do manage to get it out of Burgundy now, but I entered Belgium to Picardy, which meant Burgundy now has the retreat spot into Belgium, and it's not quite as bad for France as a unit being in Burgundy, just because Burgundy hits so many important provinces, but Picardy's still pretty bad for them.
With a fleet, English-controlled fleet in English Channel and Mid-Atlantic Ocean,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yep. And of course, I pick up Sweden, so that's a new army in Munich here, which is why I retreat to Belgium. Yeah.
You sure you just retreat to Belgium, not being able to cover Munich, because you just figured, France didn't go after Munich in the in 01. They're probably not going to go after it in 04.
I mean, I suppose that's an option, yeah.
But no, just the army of Munich is great.
Yeah.
Let's just see all the builds. Let's see what wait, for you it's just army Munich. There's no other builds on the board.
It's
right?
Oh yeah, because Italy has the tough decision of whether to take off Army Tunis or a useful fleet.
Yeah,
I mean,
tough decision.
Actually, Army Tunis could be quite good if you can convoy it to Apulia here, right?
You keep your fleets on the. Stop it! Stop it!
I mean, if it goes to Apulia, it hits all 3 Italian home centers, right? Whereas 2 fleets don't.
A fleet there, you're right. But, you are right.
But the fleets are probably better just for survivability anyway. You're unlikely to get all of your home centers back. And if you do, it will be slow, so you might as well do it with the fleets.
You might as well Retake Naples, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Just get back into Naples.
okay, let's go to the winter here. It is just Army Munich and Army Tunis. Comes off very sad. And Austria does not get the build that they were looking for. The other disband, of course, on the board was the Russian unit in Budapest, but that already got forced. So
Yeah, Austria's playing down a unit.
yeah, and actually, I'm in an awkward position in Sweden because of
Um,
3 Russian units all around it right now.
as long as North Sea keeps tapping Norway, you're going to be pretty okay for a while. So
Yeah, unless
should be
Russia
okay.
can get some builds and then stick something in St. Petersburg, but
Yes,
yeah.
but that
Uh,
requires Russia getting builds, and honestly, it's not trivial for Russia to get builds right here. Obviously, it would be much harder for Russia to get a build if Austria had an extra unit in Bohemia. But as
yep.
is, Galicia's tapping Warsaw, and so Galicia is still tied down. Serbia is pretty far extended, and Austria's position is not getting any weaker. So this is, yeah, it's just a tough position for Russia.
Yep. Plus, Austria has that build in tow, so if they manage to push out somewhere and just get that center freed up, they are going to have the advantage over Russia in the south.
Yeah, and I mean, a really, what I would do here as Austria is I would just go Trieste to Albania and Vienna to Trieste. Notably, I would have Greece still tap Ionian Sea. I would not support Trieste to Albania. I'm exposing myself if Russia chooses to go after Budapest in the spring. It's a little awkward, but assuming Russia doesn't do that, I'm not sure why exactly they wouldn't do that, but it feels like they wouldn't do that. I don't know why. Um, then we can take Serbia in the fall, and we can take it from Trieste, so we will have Vienna and Trieste vacated. And Russia will still be in the position where, yeah, they can take Vienna from us, but then they lose Warsaw. So Russia's going to keep covering Warsaw, not take Vienna. And so we get 2 builds potentially, we get our units back, and we live in.
Yep. I think actually Austria's saving grace here might be like if they don't go along those lines, even if they just turtle up, they probably win the war in the long run just because Turkey is more likely to stab Russia than to get to the Austrian centers. Um,
Potentially, yeah. It
maybe,
depends how Greece gets taken. But I
yes.
think there's a very real chance that Turkey here says, hey, Serbia is normally in a Turkish center, not a Russian one. Give me Serbia. And then they look at their board and they say, oh, we've got a fleet Black Sea, Army Serbia, Army Bulgaria. I can take Romania, I guess. And then once they're doing that, they might as well go for Sev. I
Yeah.
think that's fair.
It,
I think the danger in that position is then Turkey just kills Austria.
yes.
We just replace the Russian dots with Turkish dots.
That's true, and the Turkish player is in a much more solid position because they're Turkey, and there's no one contesting them in the corner. So,
And they've got the extra fleet, so Greece is going to fall, Ionion's going to fall, and the Naples. Yeah, so yeah, Turkey's position is looking remarkably okay now that Italy is pulled out and Turkey's not dead.
yeah. So it is winter 1903. Do you have a solid answer on who the boss is? I should say I was unable to spot the boss in this game, so at least by this point. So you would not be amiss if you did not get it right.
Yeah, this one's tough, man. Like what? I had it down to Russia or France before.
Hmm.
And I said it wasn't Austria because of the support from Ukraine to Romania. Like, the thing that makes me suspicious of Austria was just Vienna to Tyrolia with support from Trieste and then just taking Venice,
Yeah,
right?
it's that
That,
attack on Italy that bots like to do, right?
yeah, yep, and that's why we knew that it was Austria last game, and Austria did something similar in this game at the cost of Budapest, even.
Yeah,
Which is,
the difference is in this game, of course, it comes right after a show of support to someone that weakens Austria itself, which isn't something you usually expect a bot to do, right? You don't expect it to You do expect it to throw a support on things sometimes if it wants to push another player into somewhere, but you don't expect it to do that at the cost of its own supply centers.
Yeah,
So that's more of a human thing generally,
I kind of think the bot is Russia.
right?
I think that's going to be my final answer here. But I could easily see it be France. If it's anyone other than one of those two, I will be surprised. But I think it's. I would put my money on Russia just because I think the Russia, the fleet. No, it's France. All right, I'm saying it's France. Screw it. I don't care anymore. I think it's France.
Okay, well
I think I'm wrong.
you're going to be
It's only because I have
surprised.
to lock it in now. I would not lock it in, but I'm going to say France. Final answer. Hit the buzzer.
Okay, well, you're going to be surprised. I think every viewer is going to be surprised, and you're going to see why the meta bot is maybe not quite like other bots that have been here in the past. Because the bot in this game is, in fact, England. So,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that coming.
yeah. This is the player who supported Ruhr to Belgium in 1901, right? And then went all out against France, supported, tapped Denmark for no reason, which is maybe a bot like Tell. It didn't seem like a very, like, it seemed
Consistent.
very weird. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's. I mean, I just think bots generally play better than England played. I think England played a terrible game this time.
yes, I would agree. It's been like this was super odd, and I think I identified the bot as England before the end of the game, but not long before the end of the game. So definitely not by this point. Um,
Yeah, it's just the convoy into Norway and then building the fleet Liverpool is just so disconcerting. And then just abandoning your army in Norway. It's like, yeah, we convoyed it there to literally let it get disbanded. And then, oh, actually, but in the meantime, we're going to tap Sweden and tap Denmark. I don't, whatever. Okay. Sure,
yeah,
man. Tell me why.
I
Why
have
are we
no
doing
idea
that?
why the Sweden and Denmark moves. That is probably one of my biggest questions of the game. And of course, the way AIs are built nowadays, you can't usually ask them, why did you do this? They're I don't know if the this AI is explainable or not. But if there
I'm
is
certain it's not. This is based on neural net technology, and that's never explainable. So
yeah, if there is a
it's
way
looked
to
at things
explain
and it
it,
thinks that was the right move. That's why it did it.
I would be very
Okay.
interested to hear it. Yeah. But yeah, shall we move on to the next phase then?
Dang. All right.
All
Well
right.
played by France and Russia. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Spring '04.
Okay.
What's going on?
Spring 1904. Yeah. Where do you want to look at first?
Let's look at the South because the South is clean. Italy makes it back into Apulia, and Austria did not listen to me. It's okay in this particular case, but I would have used Greece to bounce Ionian, and then it would have been hella safe, and it would have been fine.
Yep.
Um, Also, my read of Russia not tapping Budapest was accurate. My way of exploiting it, though, was radically different. Right? My way of exploiting it was going to be the Trieste into Albania, Vienna to Trieste, and then take Serbia. Whereas this way is getting into Galicia and then taking Serbia. Radically
Yeah.
different.
And actually, it is very lucky for Austria here that I moved to Prussia instead of Warsaw because they misordered their support on Budapest. They supported
Yeah.
Galicia into Vienna instead of Vienna into Galicia. So, yeah, they do get into Galicia anyway because Galicia successfully moves out. But they are in a nice spot now for attacking for attacking Russia, except for the fact that Italy is now in Apulia.
So
So
the good news for Austria is that. Oh no!
yeah, I think you
Because they
just spotted
didn't
it.
bounce Ionian! So, okay, what I was going to suggest, right? They can just use Naples to tap Rome, and then it's fine. Because if Apulia, if they take Naples, you're fine, right?
Yep.
Alternatively, you could say I'm just going to hold Naples, because then if they support myself in the Naples, they then take right. Then they take Naples, but I retreat to Rome, and it's fine. And notably, if Austria had bounced Italy out of Ionian with Greece, then Naples to Rome, and then Austria's neutral no matter what.
Yep.
But like this, if Italy goes Apulia to Venice, Ionian to Naples, you have to use Trieste to defend Naples, and if you're using Trieste to defend Naples, you're not taking Serbia.
Trieste to defend Venice, yeah, absolutely.
Venice, sorry, yeah.
So you can't take Serbia and defend Venice, and of course, because Italy's best move here is definitely tapping both Venice and Naples, because the tap on Naples always prevents Austria from taking Rome or gets Naples back. And if you support into Naples, you just lose Rome anyway, so you might as well send Apulia to Venice. And yeah, Austria doesn't have a good counter that doesn't involve sending Trieste back to Venice. So it wastes the position against Russia, except Austria does have a build, in supply
But yeah,
right
Austria
now.
super doesn't care about Italy taking Venice right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it cares. You'd obviously rather it doesn't happen, but getting Serbia back is way more important.
Yep, and of course, if Italy is taking Venice with a fleet, then that's not a massive problem. The only downside, Italy will keep Tunis and one of Rome or Naples as well as taking Venice, so they are going to get a build.
Well, they're going to be +1, no. But if you cover Rome, then they don't get to build there.
Okay, so you should definitely cover Rome here, right? And not just hold
Covering Rome, I believe, is forced from Austria here, because otherwise they build an army in Rome, and you're just never going to retake... I mean, maybe not, because your army's still... Whatever. You have to do it.
Yep. But yeah, but unfortunately they are probably going to lose Greece. There's no real way of keeping that right now.
Yeah, but you just ban that fleet.
I do like the Greece, random, okay, I'm just going to support Ionian to Aegean. I'm still friendly with you, Italy. I know I've taken Venice and Naples, and I'm sitting here to take Rome next term, but, we can still work together, right? Yeah, no, that's not happening. They should absolutely have bounced Ionian here. But yeah.
Okay, now let's move more north.
Let's look
at Germany. So you're going to take Warsaw.
Indeed. And there's
a way to stop it, guaranteed.
Yeah, unless the Austrian throws a support hold, which they're obviously not going to.
You're right. That could happen. Cool. That's nice. Then in the west, let's just keep kind of moving northernly.
Yep.
We see that just sometimes things are awkward. He pulled too many units to the east to really, truly crush France. And so as a result, even though England used both their fleets, you didn't make any progress. In fact, you're trading Picardy for Burgundy again.
Yes, it's exactly the same trade. And in fact, so the move into Picardy was to tap Paris, right? So that, well, I think the only guaranteed thing I could have done here was get England into Brest. Still wasn't guaranteed if they supported one way or the other, but that was what this was attempting to do, and England didn't go for it.
England instead randomly went for a tap on Spain.
Yes.
Okay. It's possible England was expecting you to take Burgundy, and then was going to have you take Paris after it, but then Gascony could support Paris. They would have had to tap Gascony and then tap Brest. I mean, then tap Brest, but no, then Paris taps... This seems bad from the bot. I think this bot is just not a good showing from the bot at all.
Yeah.
Why did North Sea move to the English Channel instead of tapping Norway?
This is actually something I've noticed from the bot a bit. It likes to support people into places, right? It doesn't like doing things that rely on someone else supporting it in. It much prefers to try
but it's tapped Brest.
Yeah. So I think it tapped... Well, I don't actually know why it tapped Brest here. That's a good question. It's like... Because would Picardy have supported that? I suppose there was a chance that would have worked if Picardy had supported that and there had been an attack on Burgundy on the other side. So, yeah, maybe it was.
Burgundy was going to tap whatever. It's fine. It's sad. It's okay. England can do things. In fact, it's better for you, though, that England didn't tap Norway, because Denmark moves into Skag, and Skag moves into Norway. So now Sweden is safe again, because Skagerrak can support hold Sweden, and there's only 2 on Sweden now because these units made it to the north.
Yes. This is true, and England now is in some serious trouble because they now have
I mean, not really.
a Russian fleet in Norwegian.
It's annoying, but North Sea goes to Eddie, Mid-Atlantic, North Atlantic, English Channel to North Sea, and England's not going to lose anything, and it's annoying that they don't keep their pressure on France anymore, but they weren't going to get anything from France anyway, so it doesn't cost anything to pull back, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. It would have been awkward if they'd done Mid-Atlantic Ocean to Western Med and English Channel to Mid-Atlantic and North Sea to English Channel, because then they would just lose Eddie, but they didn't go for that rotation, so...
Yeah, and of course, actually, usually the biggest threat from a fleet Norwegian, especially if it's Russian, is it convoying an army into Clyde. But there's no army in position for that to do that here, and there won't be because there's too much pressure on Norway to try and swap things around. So, yeah.
Let's see the fall.
Yeah, let's go ahead and have a look at fall 1904. And England just goes, nope, I am not going to cover Edinburgh. I'm just going to walk into Denmark.
Austria, why?
Okay, let's have a look in the south.
Why? Let's keep looking at the north. Okay, let's keep looking at the north because we talked about it. So, okay. Yeah, England says, I see Denmark, I take dot.
Yep.
Yay, dot.
And it worked. They get a build here. And Russia ends up in North Sea.
That's great. I'm sure England's really happy about that outcome. Yeah. I mean, that or losing a thing. Okay. Great. Then in France, just keep defending yourself, keep not dying, keep trading Picardy for Burgundy. My man, never dying.
I had the option to retreat to Gascony here, interestingly, which was the one thing that was different from last time, but English fleet in Denmark, Russian fleet in North Sea, you can't really do that, right? You can't overextend on that front. So I end up retreating back to Ruhr instead.
Yeah, and again, right, you cut Picardy and Paris. So if England had gone for Brest, they would have taken it.
Yep. And I tried to telegraph. Well, I was thinking I'd already telegraphed.
Last turn you already did all the cuts, right?
So yeah. But England,
very sad. But...
England decides to try and stop a self bounce over Iberia instead by supporting Marseille into Spain. Which
was almost pretty clean.
It would have been really good if Marseille had, if Paris had supported Picardy down, and then I would have had the retreat into Marseille here. But you're also stabbing me in Denmark at the same time, so, what's the point of this? It's like helping Germany against France while attacking Germany on the other front. It's very odd. But yeah.
All right. Now let's keep just going east a little bit from France.
Yeah.
Hey, Austria.
This is wrong. Austria.
You got it to cover Rome. We talked about this. Austria's doomed.
Yeah. The massive downside here: Italy now puts down army or fleet Rome. Probably army, right?
I would put down army Rome here.
Yeah, and then you've lost your entire hold on the Italian peninsula. You managed to take basically all of it with one army, but then...
And you had to put a second army to reinforce everything. Or even just play a little bit more cleanly with that army and you would have been okay, but you didn't. Yep. So that's really sad.
And Austria loses the guess over Serbia, so that's even more painful.
So this is a case where it wasn't... You needed to take Serbia.
Yep.
And you needed to attack it from Budapest here, because even if they end up in Budapest, you would disband Serbia.
Yeah, that's true. That had not registered with me until you said it there, but yes, absolutely, getting rid of that army here would have been amazing. And the Greece unit here would retreat to Albania, so it would probably pop with a bounce. You get a build in Vienna because your fleet's coming off the board. But yeah. Actually, maybe you don't get a build because you
Austria was playing down one, remember?
Yeah, okay. Lose Venice, lose Greece. You take your army Greece or your fleet Greece off. No, I don't think you get the build here unless you go plus Serbia.
Oh, sorry, yeah. If we don't take Rome, yeah.
Yeah,
actually, no, that would still be neutral. No, you're right. Yeah, we were never going to build here.
Yeah. So it's awkward. But hey, you could still cover Vienna with Galicia next turn anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, but that makes my line worse. I think disbanding the army in Serbia was still better. But then I was expecting you would be able to build in Vienna to make Budapest not an issue. But as is, you wouldn't be able to do that. So you would have to like use Serbia to cut Romania. Nah, okay. It was my line was better. Yep. Take for Budapest. All right, great.
You have to remember that also Germany is in Warsaw and about to, be able to take Moscow. There's no unit there to defend Moscow. So unless they use Ukraine, which would mean that Romania is just this isolated unit in Budapest, there's no backup for it whatsoever except for the Turkish units.
Turkey gonna take it.
Yeah. You can at least solidify the Austrian home centres, but I guess you've kind of already done that. Just
yeah. All right. So that's the board, right? I mean, Turkey, of course, takes Greece, keeps growing. Easy game.
Yeah, good moves from Turkey because they're kind of the obvious moves. Let's go ahead to the builds. Yeah, winter 1904. Fleet North Sea comes off the board. I had forgotten that Russia had gone down the center. Where did they go down the center? Oh, Warsaw. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, the one that they couldn't defend, and so it didn't really try to.
Yeah. What do you reckon about Fleet North Sea coming off here? I think it's fine, right?
I would have gotten rid of Norway instead of North Sea.
Because then you can support back. I guess North Sea is more...
Support yourself back, and North Sea is better than Norway.
North Sea is more overtly saying, hey, England, I want to work with you, right?
I guess, but I don't care about that. This is a gunboat. He just took Denmark. Like, what?
Yeah.
Alliances from alliances.
And then, yeah, we see Army Rome down. Fleet Albania comes off the board, which...
Naples is going to get disbanded.
Fair.
Turkey's going to be at 4.
Italy.
Italy's going to be at 4. Italy's going to be at 4.
Yep.
It's absurd.
Yeah, Italy could actually come back from that position where they had Fleet Aegean, Fleece Med, and Army Tunis.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Kind of incredible.
So power rankings, right?
Yeah, it is 1904 power ranking time.
So Turkey's number 1.
I think that's fair. Yes, it's just like they're only on 5 supply centers, but Turkey 5 is much better than our other power 5, and the chaos that's about to happen.
Who are they at war with? Oh, they're at war with Austria? I mean, okay, that's terrifying.
It's like we've got a random Russian line in between you and Austria that you're just going to be able to walk over whenever you want to. Plus, Italy is probably going to be super annoyed at Austria right now. You've got the advantage on Ionian Sea. Like, Italy is not going to be able to get units to defend that in time if they want to take their home supply centers back. Yeah, this is just beautiful for Turkey.
Perfect Turkish position. It's only 04 even. I mean, it's going to be the year of 05 and they're going to start making progress. But that's plenty of time to get everywhere.
Yes.
You told me this was what my Turkey games would look like. Every time after 04, I would take my money and run. So good. Great. So Turkey's number 1. I think Germany's number 2.
Even with the English stab into Denmark?
Yep. I think you're going to be in great position to mess with Moscow. Like, I think Prussia's going to get into Livonia, and then Germany's going to have Russia's going to have a really hard time because St. Pete will be exposed. You can potentially do some tactical shenanigans with Sweden to Finland or Gulf of Bothnia. Skagerrak, of course, just taps Denmark, and then suddenly St. Pete can potentially fall if they take Sweden. Like, there's a bunch of going on. It's a super cool position. It's a little bit more extended than my positions tend to be, but you're essential power, and you kind of have to be more extended if you're going to have a good game, I think. So,
yeah.
I think this is like a good Germany game. It's not great, obviously. You'd prefer to be better, but I think you're still the second place power on the board.
I think, like, the only person I would potentially put ahead of me is France in this position. And,
France
like, Mid-Atlantic is still...
Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, Mid-Atlantic makes it awkward. It's just a case of, is that fleet gonna
You're
stay
France.
there?
Yeah,
Yeah, and like clearly the German can't make any more progress against you here, right? At
that's
least
true.
not for the time being.
Completely agree. Completely agree with that.
But yeah, I'm
I think
happy to
France
put
was my third place
France
power.
third. Third.
Yeah, I just
I think
English
it's
Channel can
close.
support hold mid Atlantic Ocean for the rest of the game, and if England does that, France can never do anything.
Yeah, that's fair. And even then, France is trying to having to make interesting decisions about what to do in Iberia. Right? I suppose you can just pull Marseille to Spain and Spain to Portugal, but then you weaken. You know, you're basically saying I'm not going to be able to do anything else. So yeah.
And again,
Um,
right, France can just be locked out of the game if England chooses to do that, and England will still have two units to play with, and those two units can potentially be useful. Like they could potentially take Norway if things go weird. They can potentially like whatever walk into Kiel in Holland or whatever. I think that's less likely, but plausible.
yeah.
Um, I mean, yeah, I think an EF here, or excuse me, a Germany France alliance here is not impossible. And I think even that doesn't get either one of you guys out of it really, which is awkward. But no, I
Yeah.
think France is third. It's France, man. You're not dead.
Yep.
Um,
It. I think next has to be
Russia.
England. Well, see, my worry with Russia is just Serbia and Romania are not good places to be right now.
That's true.
um,
And the Moscow's unhappy. Okay, I'll take England over Russia. That's fair. Yep,
yeah,
yep, yep. I like it.
uh, yeah. I mean, I suppose, yeah, and then yeah, Moscow being under German threat. I think yeah, it makes more sense that England is ahead of Russia here, and then you have, I think Italy actually is ahead of Austria here. Uh,
Significantly.
yeah, it's it's kind of weird
Disgusting.
because I think Italy could face threat from the fact that they're going to lose Ionian before they get their everything solidified, right?
Yep.
But Austria's just down to the Austrian three, and that's not a good spot to be in.
Push down to the Austrian three with a bunch of hostile armies and a Turkey that's going to eat them. So, yeah, Austria's position is no bueno.
Yep. Um, so
All right.
here are our power rankings for 1904. Turkey first, Germany second, France in third, England fourth, Russia fifth, Italy sixth, and Austria bringing up the rear here. Let's go ahead to spring 1905. Yeah.
Okay,
Where do you
so
want to
let's
start?
do the north first. I mean, we've been
Okay.
like we just have Eddie to North Sea, and in the north, and then Prussia to Livonia, if you consider that the north.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, interestingly, well, England does lock down the French fleets, as you said, but the French fleets don't stay locked down. They decide to go on. Well, one of them decides to go off to Picardy, which is an interesting choice. I think
Well,
I would have preferred to put Army Paris there for sure.
of course.
Yeah. Fleet Picardy just. Ugh. What can you
Yeah,
say?
it's ugly. It's really, really ugly. Yeah, just no bueno. Okay, great. So, notably, because Russia didn't move an army back to St. Pete, they lose Moscow.
Yes. This is it's not quite guaranteed because of Austrian Galicia, but the Austrian Galicia is
They
not going
lose
to tap
Moscow,
balls. So, yeah,
right?
okay. I shouldn't just
So,
say random things that could
Moscow's
be.
gone. I mean, good news for Germany again, right? Russia's position is still soft in the heartland, so
Yep.
we'll see.
Uh,
In the south, let's just skip over the mainland Austria for a second. We see Turkey just make progress in a very, very weird way, in a very
yeah.
pro-Russian way.
Extremely pro-Russian. In fact, like this, they could have just taken Serbia, and I don't think the Russian would even have taken that as a negative, because they're getting Budapest anyway. Well, they're not guaranteed to get Budapest, but like you expect Turkey to want Serbia in a Russia-Turkey alliance. That's just a thing, and Russia can't make too many enemies right now.
Russia can't make any enemies right now.
Yeah, with these two German armies in their core, that yeah, it's just. But Turkey is keeping on side with the Russian, and Turkey even gets into Ionian, thanks to this Ionian to Apulia, which I think is a bad move.
Yeah, so now let's talk about what happened with Turkey and Austria. Or, excuse me, Italy and Austria. Turkey was barely involved.
Yes.
So Italy said, I am going to take Naples in the fall, and I'm going to do it and disband the army in Naples, and I am only going to use 2 units to do it. It accomplished all of these things, which is good. Disadvantage was that it now means that they lose Ionian in the spring and then lose Tunis.
Yep.
If they had instead used Venice to go to Apulia, supported by Rome, and then used those 2 units to take Naples, things go a little differently. Significantly better.
Yeah, I
That,
feel
of
like
course,
you just kind of want to hold Ionian here, right? And then support into Naples in the fall. Because then you keep
yeah,
Tunis. But then, of course, you
yeah.
have to try and vacate Venice in order to get the build from it. So maybe that's not as good as I'm saying it is. But
I mean, my plan was just move Venice to Apulia in the spring because Austria needs its units.
yeah, that's true. This way, they did actually cause the Russian to get Budapest because they tapped Trieste. So, from a vengeance point of view,
Yeah,
it
but also it's
works.
because Austria tactically made yet another blunder. Galicia to Budapest was it was against exactly Serbia supports Romania to Budapest, but if you just had Galicia tap Romania, then you're frequently going to actually get into Romania, or you're going to cut the support, and then you're going to disband Serbia. It's just the goal of disbanding things is a very big deal to me, and Austria's had the ability to disband this army in Serbia like 4 different times now and hasn't taken advantage of it. Again, in this particular case, it wouldn't have disbanded Serbia because of Venice tapping Trieste. I'm just explaining why I didn't think Italy was going to tap Trieste,
Yeah.
but whatever. Sometimes that happens. But man, Austria had like such a position that was right there, and then it just made just a series of tactical blunders. I feel
Interestingly, it wouldn't have forced Serbia here. It instead would have
would
made
have retreated to
Serbia
Bulgaria.
retreat to
Yeah.
Bull, which is actually better, I think, because there's a possibility that Russia just walks into Con or whatever. Um, you at least try and stir up some tension between Turkey and Russia, because you're
I
not going
think
to
it's
win this fight if
worse.
they don't stab each other, right?
I think it's worse though because the army in Bulgaria can still attack Serbia with support from Romania, and it can still support hold Romania.
Yeah, and then Albania just
So
taps Trieste or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, it's. I would think I would much rather disband it than have it retreat available. But like, it's still forcing them in this particular moveset. Also, right again, the Italian tapped Venice, so none of the Trieste with Venice, so none of these things mattered.
yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this is just like very absurdly good for Turkey. And England is back on the North Sea and not dead.
Yeah. I should say one of the moves you can't see on the board here is Sweden support hold Denmark. I was at least trying to get England to like make sure that England stays on my side while I go to Moscow. This was before I determined that England was the bot still. Because I'm thinking, I guess there's a possibility England just wanted a build and walked into Denmark as a result. Maybe I can get them back on side. But yeah, this is that. Obviously, England moving to Sweden is not great from my perspective. Yeah. So shall we move ahead to the fall?
Let's do it.
All right, fall 1905. And yeah, what do you want to talk about first here?
Turkey seems pretty clean. So Turkey takes Ionian. taps Trieste, taps Serbia, and stays +1. Just chugging along. To 6th center Turkey, alarm bells ring internationally. Just, oh god, Turkey's at 6, Turkey's in Tunis. Every game's over for everybody.
Yep.
Let's gotta lock down the stalemate line immediately.
And Austria finally managed to disband that army. The second army disbanded in Budapest here. Not in the way you were thinking, I think. The Russian and the Turk kind of, clash over Serbia and get the Russian unit disbanded. Russia could have held Budapest here with the support hold, but of course their build would have gone to Turkey because of this move up to Serbia, so it's an interesting one. As Russia here, do you want Turkey growing that much or not?
No. If Turkey gets 2 builds, they build Fleet Smyrna and Army Ankara, or Army Constantinople, and then they can move into Bulgaria. Or they build 2 armies. They build Army Smyrna, and then it's like, they can't convict Smyrna. But they build 2 armies, and then suddenly Bulgaria and Armenia are filled, and you lose Romania and Sevastopol. You're desperately hoping that Turkey just barely gets enough units to keep sending fleets out of this.
Yeah, that's fair. So do you think the Russians should have preferred the Budapest being disbanded here over losing Serbia? They couldn't actually guarantee that they keep Serbia if Albania goes there, supports the move there. But I mean, I guess this was alright. Interestingly, they do move Ukraine into Galicia, right? As a result of this, so they've got nothing at all adjacent to Moscow, and they've only got Galicia adjacent to Warsaw now. They've kind of given up their core. In fact, looking at this now, I really wish I'd gone to Moscow and St. Petersburg, but I feel like that would have taken more thought than I was giving it, or more risk taking.
Stones of steel.
Yeah.
Also, you already... This is funny, because you lost Skagerrak and you covered Kiel and still covered Munich, you're actually going to be playing down 1 next year.
Yep.
If you'd taken both, you'd be playing down 2.
Extremely painful, yeah. The plus side would have been that, in St. Petersburg you can at least do something to support Sweden, although this way around maybe you can get the Russian back on side. Feels like a bit of a long shot, but hey.
And yeah, I've taken Warsaw and Moscow. We're friends now.
It's not like the Russian can do anything about it. So, yeah.
I mean, not be friends with you?
As in, they can't do anything to take Warsaw and Moscow back, right? So they might as well be my friend and just stick around. But yeah, so in the north here, I do lose Skagerrak to a force disband from England, and of course England frees up all the French units here by moving Mid-Atlantic to English Channel to north. France was actually trying to support England into Belgium, so France is showing support that way too. Not looking great for the German here, for me. Yeah. And France also still has Fleet Picardy, which is just terrible if you're going to ever try and launch an attack against England. You will much prefer that be in Brest. Especially while England has Fleet English Channel. Is there anything else you want to talk about up here?
The north, I think things are okay.
Yeah.
And in the south, I think, yeah. Italy's still screwed. Austria's doomed. Hooray!
I think you'd much prefer to put fleet into Naples instead of the army into Naples, right?
Yeah, maybe you can cover a Tyrrhenian Sea.
Yeah, but maybe Italy is just going, hey, Turkey, I'm being your vassal now, just, skip me and go for France.
You'd still rather have your fleet in Tyrrhenian Sea, because then your fleet can be the first one out.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, shall we move ahead to the winter?
Let's see it.
Alright, and see my sadness as I only get to build one of my 2 builds. Fleet Berlin, and then of course we have Army Constantinople from Turkey, which is probably not what Russia was hoping to see. But
Nah, it seems like Serbia's lost.
yeah, it does make sense, right?
I
Turkey at
completely
this
agree. I think
point
this
is
army is going to
going,
build.
yeah, Turkey is just going, well, Russia, you're kind of done here now. It's time for me to take over this line. Um, but yeah, and
Yeah,
that's all the
there's still
builds.
hope that like Austria and Turkey try to take Serbia, and they just bounce forever.
Yeah, that's possible. You gotta hope for that. Um, but yeah, actually, yeah. So I said that there was nothing Russia could do to take Warsaw and Moscow back. They can obviously go to Ukraine and St. Petersburg here and just try and push in that way. But it does potentially give up Norway, right? Uh, but yeah. So that is the builds. There's not that much to say on them here. Let's go ahead to spring 1906, and just a reminder for our viewers who maybe didn't watch game one or missed the explanation, maybe. The way these games' end dates are determined is it's a 20% chance after 1908, and then 20% chance after 1909, 20% after that, and so on and so forth. And then after 1913, it starts becoming a 40% chance every year of the game just ending there and then. So you'd expect most games, I think we calculated it last time, to be like to end just after 1910 or just after 1911, sometime around then. So we still got a little while potentially in this one. Let's have a look at what's going on. Where do you want to look at first?
England gets to walk into Portugal. Very fun, very legal.
They do. They just get into Mid-Atlantic Ocean for free here.
Why exactly France sent fleet Spain south coast to Western Med? The world may never know.
I gotta assume
alarm bells about Turkey, but
yeah, maybe they were thinking that Turkey is going to take up the Italian, I'll be a vassal kind of offer, and just go into Western Med. I'm not sure. I think I would have kept it in Spain here, but
I would have moved to Mid-Atlantic Ocean.
To Mid-Atlantic Ocean, yeah. If you had Fleet Brest, you could do so much better
something
here
like
by
this,
just
yes.
Like Fleet Brest. Here is why you want Fleet Brest instead of Fleet Picardy here. If you swap this army and this fleet around, the moves are obvious. Fleet Brest to Mid-Atlantic Ocean is a pro-English move that covers against the English attack that could happen on you, right?
Yeah, you say pro-English. I say not anti-English. Because Mid-Atlantic Ocean is one step closer to Liverpool than Brest is.
That's true.
But I agree with you, it is not anti-English.
Yeah, and it's probably what England would be expecting you to be doing given the Turkish threat in the south. You have a good reason for it. But with the fleet in Picardy here, you just give up Mid-Atlantic Ocean, or you move Spain to Mid-Atlantic, which can annoy the English player because it looks much more aggressive than Brest to Mid-Atlantic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, now
very sad from France. Good job, England. Meanwhile, England lost Denmark and didn't get into Baltic.
Yeah, and didn't get into Sweden either. Bounced against the Russian there. They do end up in Heligoland. So they still have 3 on Denmark there, or they have 2 on Holland. Their choice, or 2 on Norway even. That's a potential thing. But if you're attacking Germany, you probably go for Denmark or Holland. And then France ends up with Army Belgium. Which I attempt to support the fleet into Belgium because I think that's the only way that France is going to attack England from here, right?
Maybe. I mean, now that England's going to take Portugal, maybe your problems have sorted itself out.
Yeah, it's possible. Picardy to English Channel certainly seems like a much more appealing move to France here now.
Yeah, you can do that while sending Gascony to Spain, Western Med to Mid-Atlantic Ocean. Even though England takes Portugal, you can retake Portugal, and if you're in English Channel, England's position is actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a time where I don't think England's supposed to die. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy to me. I never thought I'd see the day.
Oh,
Maybe top Brest, actually.
no,
That's funny.
yeah, it is just the possibility that England gets squeezed out of Portugal that easily, right?
Yeah, but if you go into Brest, that's not going to happen. They can support you back in the English Channel.
Yep.
Funny.
Interesting.
If you do that, yeah, you take Brest, you take Denmark, and actually you're okay. Because look at France's moveset. There's no way that France doesn't cover Portugal in next year's spring. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. So,
Great. We go to the east, and we see that Russia tried to defend its homeland, and you said no,
yep.
not even a little bit. And Austria and Turkey did fight over Serbia, but it looks like Austria might be going after Venice in the fall. It's
Just
unclear.
it's interesting. it's, I I mean, it potentially gets them a build.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it seems pretty plausible. In the meantime, though, is Turkey going to go +2 or +3?
Turkey's definitely getting Serbia here, right? They get So they could try and take Serbia and Romania at the same time. That's an option. I doubt Sevastopol supports hold Romania here, given what the Russian moves here have tried to be. Uh, Austria, if they go for Venice, then obviously Turkey can get into Serbia with just the one support. Otherwise, they need two. Um, yeah, I find it unlikely that Turkey is going to get Naples, even though they have two on it, because, well, actually, like, if you're Italy and you see this Austrian move to Tyrolia, do you just go, "Oh, come on, Austria! We've already done this stupid dance before. I'm gonna screw you over and just support against you rather than supporting Hold myself." Um, I feel like I'm enough of a survivalist that I would support Hold Naples anyway, because I would think, okay, there's a decent chance that Austria is just going to go for Serbia and put one on Venice. But if you're going screw you, Austria, then supporting into Venice isn't a bad idea. Well, I guess shall we just jump ahead and see whether Turkey gets the extra builds or not?
Talked about the North. Yeah, let's do it.
Yep.
I think Turkey is going to get 2 builds.
Okay. Well, let's go to fall 1906 and see. They do, in
Get
fact,
one.
only get one, I think. Yeah, they take the
Wow,
guarantee on Serbia, which makes
this
sense.
is Turkey's a wuss.
Um, self-bouncing Tunis. Wow. I mean, it kind of makes sense
Whatever.
with Western Med there. Um,
Turkey's position is so strong that it doesn't even matter.
yeah, man. So, okay, we let's have a look at France here. So France does exactly what you suggested they do: cover
Not quite,
Mid-Atlantic and
but
cover
very
Spain.
much similar.
You
Yeah, I suggested also picking the English Channel as the follow-up, but they didn't do that move. They went to support Belgium instead.
and they actually that was a good thing for them because
Yeah, they'd much rather have it go like this.
yeah, otherwise they would have kept the English fleet in Mid-Atlantic, which I think was what England was gunning for here. You know, given that it's a bot, particularly, you think it's got to predict Picardy to English channels, the best reasonable move for France. So, yeah. France also tries to support Heligoland into Holland, so still trying to show support to England, despite the fact that England just walks into Mid-Atlantic, and goes for Munich. And yeah, England does just take Denmark back, which is a thing.
Yeah, this was the only guaranteed capture they had.
Yeah, that is true. Because you could not rely on this potential French support, especially right after you go into Mid-Atlantic Ocean. Thankfully
And
for
this French
me,
support doesn't even get it there, right? You need Burgundy to cut Ruhr.
you can put North and Heligoland on it, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
then
true.
you're
You're right.
alright.
You're right.
but then you have to match the moving unit with the French support, which is obviously tough in gunboat.
Yep.
It feels very much like this French support is more due to France wanting to show, hey England, I know I'm moving into Spain and Mid-Atlantic, but I'm still pro you, rather
I
than
guess
actually
France trying to troll the
expecting you
bot.
to do.
I think France ID'd the bot earlier than us,
Mm,
and they think they can trick the bot by just throwing supports at it.
it's
Maybe they
possible.
did.
Uh,
Maybe that's why the bot didn't take Brest.
It's possible. I don't think I ever asked other players how early they identified the bot, so it's possible.
Yeah. So then
And
let's look at
I do
forgot
manage to
to finish
keep.
up the South.
Yeah, I do manage to keep Sweden. That's the one thing here. So I don't go down a unit because I was playing one up I was playing one supply center up anyway. But it's still not looking like a great spot. But yes, down in the south. Nice for Turkey. Nice-ish, not as nice as it could have been.
Could have been so much cleaner.
Yeah. Russia does get into Budapest here. Which replaces the supply center Serbia.
Why did you support Hold Galicia?
So I supported Galicia and St. Petersburg to hold. You can't see the St. Petersburg one here. I was basically just saying, hey, Russia, I know I'm in your centers, but please.
But now Russia's going to get to build an army in 7, retake all of their centers.
I don't think they get a build because they lose Serbia. But
you're right. Okay, you're safe.
But
barely.
Yeah, I'm very much hoping. Okay, Russia. If you want to turtle up in Scandinavia, England's your biggest opposition here. Please just ignore my units in Warsaw or Moscow and like me again.
Sure.
It's a bit of a long shot.
I would never do this. I would always cut Galicia.
Makes sense, and it probably would have been better for me if I had, because then Russia's
Austria
choice
builds
of...
in Vienna and can still...
Yeah.
still struggling.
Russia's choice of taking a unit off is really tough as well. You have probably Fleet Sevastopol. Becomes Fleet Romania, obviously, but if they take off that fleet, it's still nice for me because I can just tap Sevastopol to try and take it. And Austria does take Venice. They just walk in. So Italy is going down a unit again. They turn around, they tried to fight Turkey, and in return, they have had a center sniped from them. So yeah, probably not the wisest move on the Austrian part if they're actually looking to constrain Turkey. But it does at least keep them on 3. Which supporting Hold Bud would have also done, but yeah. So, anything else to talk about here?
I don't think so. I think we can go on to the next one.
Alright, Winter 1906. This is going to be another power rankings turn, and Turkey blatantly still at the top, right?
Yep, it is. Turkey has extended Turkey's lead.
In fact, I will just move Turkey up a little bit on the top to represent Turkey.
Yeah, I think France is officially better than Germany now.
Yes, I would agree. Germany is probably still in 3rd.
Yeah, they've still got army in Warsaw, Moscow, which is going to be tough to deal with. Like, if they get Baltic Sea into Bosnia, you can take St. Pete, and then you build that way still, and you're probably going to make it to the end of the game, and you're still a threat if things work out nicely. If England and France somehow can't make nice, maybe you end up beating them with Fleet Marseille. It's rough, but I think you're still 3rd. Who's going to be higher than you? England?
Yeah, I think
England is going to end the game with more centers than you.
It definitely goes France, Germany, I think, right now. And then probably, it has to be England next, right? There's no way Russia is stronger than England.
Here's my thing, right? Do you think England ends this game with more centers than Germany from these positions?
Yeah, they have to come from Scandinavia, right?
Well, a couple of them come from Scandinavia. Their next one, I think, is coming from Sweden and Norway, probably. I think those two are likely, but
that gives 6.
Can they, in the late game, end up taking Holland and Kiel and Berlin? and St. Pete.
It's possible. It certainly depends how early the game ends, right? Because it could cut off at 1908, and then I think England is definitely only getting Sweden and Norway. But even that might be enough. Because if France pushes forward just a little bit, or if Russia manages to collapse in on Germany, then Germany only has these Moscow,
Kiel
Warsaw,
and
Berlin,
Berlin.
Kiel, Holland, Munich. That's 6 total, and then if they lose anything, England is ahead just by taking Norway and Sweden. So actually, yeah, maybe England goes up ahead of Germany.
I think England is likely to finish this game with more centers than Germany now.
Okay, so we are putting England.
Corner powers are stupid.
They are quite strong, yes. If you manage to survive to the point of the game where the central powers are, well, where you can, you've got some kind of defensive position, just can push forward.
I should central triple every single game.
I mean, I think there's an interesting game along those lines coming up at some point, but that's still a way away, so we won't talk about that yet. So then it has to be probably Russia, then Austria, then Italy, or Russia, then Italy, then Austria. I'm not. Those three are quite interchangeable. It depends how long Turkey sticks with the Russian, I think, right? Because there is a decent chance that they just decide, Russia's been loyal to me, I'm just gonna leave them alive forever.
I mean, maybe, but this is SOS scoring, so that's not going to happen.
That's true. In which case, I guess actually both Italy and Austria are in a better spot than Russia then, right? Because that's quite...
no, because St. Pete and Norway might be around at the end, whereas there's no way that Italy survives.
Do you think Russia's keeping St. Pete? Norway even? I think Norway's getting taken by the English. No matter what.
Probably, but I mean, the way that you've been playing, you might not use Moscow to tap St. Pete. St. Pete just supports whole Norway for a while, and you just keep messing with Sweden, and, who knows?
That is fair. Okay, so who would you put at the bottom here? Who would you least want to play as? Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing about Italy is centers are actually... Oh, no. Okay, Italy is going to die to, a convoy to Apulia at some point, right?
That's They've lost the Tyrrhenian Sea. Italy's dead.
Yep. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, Italy's dead. Then I think I'd rather be Austria than Russia. Well, doesn't matter. They're all irrelevant. One of them might survive with 1 or 2 centers left, and okay, fine. But this is SOS. Who cares? They're dead.
Okay. So there we go. Power rankings: Turkey first, France second, England third, Germany fourth, then Austria, Russia, Italy, which are all kind of interchangeable, but we have decided on that as the order.
So let's start speeding through the end here, because really this is just a question of how many centers does Turkey take by the end of the game. That's the question.
Yep. It does seem like Turkey is going to board top this. There's no real way.
There's no way Turkey doesn't.
To stop this.
It would be absolutely unbelievable. You could literally have the entire board start coordinating now to stop Turkey from getting to 10 centers, and you would not succeed. Probably.
I completely agree, and that would require the bot to to sit back, which would be very unbot-like.
Okay. Remember when I said you could coordinate? No, you could coordinate, and you could still stop Turkey, because Warsaw can just go to Ukraine, and then Moscow can just take Sev.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen in a gunboat game.
But yeah, you're not going to actually do that, so okay.
Yes.
It's irrelevant, but no, Turkey can board top this. So, Spring 07, yeah?
Yep, okay, so moving into Spring 07.
We have great guesswork from you against France. You support Hold Ruhr, you leave Munich exposed.
Yep.
Nicely done.
It works out okay.
Works out perfectly. You hold them back for a bit. We see France going for a convoy into North Africa and then Tunis. I think France is pretty happy about this.
Yep. They have that force over Tunis that they need to.
We see Turkey suspiciously holding with the Black Sea rather than moving to Khan.
Yes.
I'm going to take Romania at some point, Russia, but when is it going to be? I think, really, it should have just been this turn. He should have just supported himself into Romania, moved Serbia to Bulgaria, or no, taking it from Serbia. How about?
Yeah,
And then
you
you take
just
Romania, and then you just take Sev, and then you build your 3, and then you're fine. But
you just
as
say
is, who knows?
I'm 7 cents of Turkey. I don't need allies. Right? I'm just
I'm
gonna
7 cents of
take
Turkey,
everything.
and Italy's on 2. Austria's on 3. Russia has nothing because you lost Warsaw and Moscow. I don't. Everyone around me is my food.
Also,
Like you're gonna
Italy
get to 13 easily.
Italy is still annoyed at Austria taking Venice,
Of
clearly because
course,
they moved to Apulia with support, and which is
they're
clearly
probably gonna
setting
take
up for
Venice,
the
right?
attack on Venice. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So
Um,
yeah, the north. We do see you get into a nice position with Bothnia and Baltic. Looks like you're looking to take St. Pete, which is I think great because Moscow isn't needed to defend Moscow anymore. It's here in Sevastopol. It's a fleet in Sevastopol. Excuse me. Um, I mean, there's a chance that something weird happens. You lose Sweden. Like, cool, good tactics, but ultimately Turkey's just going to keep going. Next one.
yeah, I think you're going to see that you're going to be very disappointed in me this next phase, but let's have a look at this.
You don't take St. Pete.
For 1907, yep. Um, See, this is potentially my issue here. I was thinking, okay, I really want to stop England more than I want to take anything off Russia here. Also, I see that Russia is in Vienna. I will tap Sevastopol just to make sure that if the fleet moves, he doesn't get a build out of it, right? Because I'll go in. Uh, yeah, which works out spectacularly badly for me.
I don't fault you the Moscow tapping Sevastopol. I think that reasoning is very good reasoning here. I think that's a good idea. I just think taking St. Pete's more important.
Yeah, the problem is, I really want to work with Russia in the north still here. I'm thinking, okay, Russia, if England gets into this position, they are
I'm
just
just
going to
on
take
cut my
Norway off
losses
of you.
plan, right? Just take St. Pete, and then with St. Pete, Bothnia, Baltic Sea, heal. There's like not a stalemate line, but it's slow going for England to take anything from you. But you have to be in St. Pete.
I think
All
you're
right, great.
absolutely right? But like,
Oh,
if
that's
I had
sick.
taken St. Petersburg here, I at least have a corner position I can fall. I can kind of work from.
You will survive at like 4 or 5 centers at the end, and like, look, you'll get some points. It's not going to be a good result, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, but
Instead, Russia's going to build an army in Sev. Um, Turkey's not attacking Russia still,
Russia is
so
supporting Turkey still into Trieste here. Although they would have
yeah, I
taken it
mean Russia's
anyway.
going to get a second place score. It's presumably going to be a pretty small second, because it looks like Turkey's clearly going to stab Russia at some point. But worth noting, Turkey just completely messed up this turn. They self-bounced on Ionia instead of taking with the
Okay,
G, so
I
now
I do know
Turkey's
about
going to lose Tunis.
I do know about this move. This wasn't an intended self bounce. This was the Turkish player not being able to enter all their orders properly in time, and they accidentally entered Tyrrhenian move to Ionian instead of Tyrrhenian
Instead of Leon.
support.
Oh, support.
Actually,
I
they
mean, they
might
should have
have
still
wanted
just
to
bounced
support
Gulf of
to.
Leon.
Yeah, that probably actually that makes more sense. I just remember him saying it was a misorder.
I believe
Which
a misorder. It's just that's rough. But
yeah,
either bounce Gulf of Leon or move to Tunis. But self-bouncing Onion sucks. That's rough.
yes,
Um,
but they do still get the
Turkey still
build.
goes +1, still gets an army. It's okay. Italy's crushed. Austria's crushed. I mean, yeah,
Yep,
everybody's dead. This is fine.
everybody's dead, Dave. But the
Let's see the builds.
yeah, let's go ahead to winter 1907. Austrian units all come off. I have to disband because I didn't take St. Petersburg, and
If
I
you lose
lost
Bothnus,
Sweden.
you're never gonna retake it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's rough. England is now gonna get Norway, get St. Pete. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. How many centers does everybody get?
Yeah, I'm just praying for the end of the game here. It should be noted the larger, because of the way Sum of Squares works, the larger Turkey gets, the less points everyone else get, right? So they should be trying to stop.
Yeah.
But, like, who's gonna stop Turkey right now?
I mean, France is doing
has
his best,
Yeah,
and
France
France
is
got into Tunis, right?
doing a good job. But outside of that, no one has the ability to stop Turkey, really. Russia could, but, like, why would they when Turkey is the one propping them up?
Oh my God.
Are we
I'm
moving
looking
to
at the spring.
Okay, let's go ahead to the spring.
So in the spring, Turkey crushed it down here because they had Trieste walk into Venice, and then Venice just covered Rome when Turkey didn't try to take Rome. And so Turkey got to retreat into Tuscany and just walk into Venice and reposition. So now Turkey's got enough units to just take everything they want now.
Yep.
And
Of
Russia's
course,
going to retake Moscow. Oh, man.
this was something of an accident. I think it probably would have worked out the same, but again, Tyrrhenian Sea was a misorder. It was supposed to go to Tunis, I think.
Would have worked out the
And
same, yeah.
as it happens, it bounces Aegean out of Ionian because
Oh,
Naples
never
gets
mind. It's
cut.
not the same.
So yeah, that's very painful for the Turk here. Basically, this is being hosted on web diplomacy, and a lot of people from the wider community were invited. People who hadn't used web diplomacy before, and of course, 5 minute turns with drop down boxes you're not familiar with is tough. It's definitely tough when you start getting to like 9 units and such. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what happens down there. France definitely quite happy with the position down here, although they would have preferred to go in with Western Med, given they just walked into Tunis.
Yeah, but this is still fine. I mean,
Yeah.
and France is super content with this. They're going to be at 7 at the end of the game, almost certainly. So, like, that's a fine score. Even if Turkey gets a really big number, like I'm thinking 12 centers, I mean, 49 is going to get you some points. Like you're always going to do pretty okay. Like you're going to get points on the board.
Yes, that's true.
England is probably going to be at like 6 or 7, but the difference between 6 and 7 is big. So yeah, I mean we're this is spring. Oh wait, let's see. Like
Yeah.
what is Turkey going to get to 15? We think.
Sorry, you think
So
Turkey's?
10,
Yeah, they could get to 15. They have to
12,
stab
13,
Russia.
14. It would be tough. I mean, I'm just assuming they're going to stab Russia. The only question is when and how hard.
Yeah, if
And this move
they,
to Bulgaria, while they keep Black Sea loaded, they move from Albania, not Serbia. I think they're going to do it this turn, right?
yeah, it would make sense from this position.
Yeah, they're going to take Budapest and Romania, and they can take Budapest from Serbia even, because that's a fleet Romania. So they take those two, pop the fleet, they go +3, and then they take Sevastopol, Vienna, Rome next year. So that's +3 this year, +3 next year. Yeah, that's 15 by 1910.
It's a solid
That seems
score.
good.
Very
And the
solid
game can
score.
end any turn now, right? So they've got to go. So yeah,
Yes.
maybe they end up getting Warsaw or Moscow if the game lasts another couple of years, right? If the game goes a little long, it's to 12. I think they can get to 17.
Yep.
Right? They're not going to solo, of course. So
You also see my attempts to continue trying to get Russia on side, despite Russia very clearly not wanting to at this point. With the support hold on St. Pete and the support into Sweden. But yeah,
yeah,
it's not
but I
happening.
mean, doesn't really
Um,
matter.
yeah,
Let's go fall.
let's
See
go
if we
to
make
the
the stab this
fall.
turn.
Fall 1908, and yet there comes the stab from Turkey. And in fact, they do lose Naples to the Italian fleet, so they didn't get everything going their way, but it was very close to everything going their way. They do still go +3 because they pick up Venice as well. Oh no, they only go +2 because they lost Tunis to the French. Yeah, and
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, so they're not going to be. They're only going to be at 14.
yes,
Okay.
this is true. And you see, I think this is the first turn. Actually, it might have been last turn, but this is the first turn that England stops throwing. France stops throwing England's supports against me. They're just sitting on their border now. And then the other thing that happens in the north is Russia tries to take my support into Sweden, but it doesn't work because England correctly guesses the other way. In fact, it wouldn't have. Like, they could have just gone Denmark support, hold Sweden, Sweden support in one of those other two. It still would have worked for them, so I should really have done something else with Baltic.
Like tap something.
Yeah, if I had tapped Denmark here, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, I feel
But
like a genius.
Yes, I'm not a gunboat genius, as it turns out.
Yeah, it's fine.
Um,
Also, again, right, it doesn't really matter at this point because you're only going to be down to like 4 or 5 centers anyway. So
yeah.
between
I'm
4 or 5
I'm
is
gonna be quite unlikely to take anything. I'm just praying that the game ends before I lose both Moscow and Warsaw, which I do lose Moscow this turn, but
yep.
yep.
And Warsaw's going to go next turn, and so it's just please game end right now. Does the game end for me? Is he safe?
So yeah,
Oh, we see
let's
winter.
go to winter. There's the builds, double army from Turkey. They're gonna stuff the northern front as much as possible. Makes sense. Army from France to try and get into Piedmont. Army from England. So they are gonna try and do something.
Yeah,
It's
whatever.
but yeah, and then Baltic and Barents come off. So
Yep.
it's
Is
like
meme safe?
the answer is no. This does progress to
No.
1909. Um,
What? Oh my god, and Russia just lets England walk into St. Pete? I guess the argument was that he couldn't defend it anyways, but man.
yup.
Oh man. Wow, England's gonna crush.
The England actually, yeah, is in a very nice spot here. I don't think they have anything guaranteed. I have a guess over Holland and Kiel.
And
Um,
Berlin.
and Berlin, yeah. It's like, do you throw a support hold on Holland and cover one of Kiel or Berlin, or do you cover both of Kiel or Berlin and leave Holland and guard it?
Yeah.
It's always going to be a 50-50, I think.
I mean, so you have Munich, right? Has two options, right? It can either tap Berlin and cover Berlin, or it can be involved to defend Kiel.
Yes.
And it's so if
Oh, actually, yeah, it's not a
England
50-50.
goes Baltic to Berlin and then attacks Holland with strength 2, you need to do exactly Munich to Berlin, and Ruhr supports Holland.
Yep.
Alternatively, England can just go Baltic to Berlin, Helgoland to Kiel, and then not tap Holland. And so if Ruhr supports Holland, you're cooked. Alternatively, they can put 2 on Kiel. Right? They've got 3 equally viable options
And
that
you have to
use
exactly
those
outguess each one. Yeah,
exactly.
okay,
Each
so
one
it's a
has a
1 in
unique
3.
reaction.
It's a 1 in 3 for Germany to hold what they have here, which is.
Uh-oh.
Yep. I feel like as Germany, I'd expect an attack. Well, that's an interesting one, right? Because you expect that London is going to get convoyed into one of Kiel or Holland, but they can do that and still go for Berlin or support to Kiel or support to Holland, so it doesn't narrow down your options at all.
Oh yeah, and it's even worse, right? Because the support into Holland can go with an attack into Kiel or Berlin,
Yep.
right? Because Baltic can go to Kiel instead. Yeah, so Munich's got its own 50-50, basically. Is Munich going to the same place as Baltic?
Yep.
And that's a 50-50 guess right there. And then does Ruhr guess what's going on with Helgoland? So there's like two 50-50s. It's kind of like a 1 in 4. That's how I would think about this, but it's rough. Meanwhile, Turkey takes Vienna.
Russia does actually try and fight back here, but
Yes.
it's pretty like there's not much they can do.
They can maybe hold no, they can't even because you're going to take from Romania now. Okay, yep. I mean, that's rough. Sometimes it's a little bit too late.
Notably, they do
So,
give up their opportunity to like run back and hit Warsaw in order to do this. So I'm kind of happy about that at least. But
yeah, I mean, you keep this one, so that's great. Although you'd rather Russia gets a build than Turkey gets the build because of SOS, but
for sure,
who
yeah.
cares?
But there's nothing I can do about Turkey getting
Yep,
stuff right
that's it.
now.
Okay, so again, does the game end? So we can see the fall,
Yep.
right? And we're going to see Turkey lose Rome. Yeah, because Russia's going to tap Venice.
Turkey does not
Or go to
actually lose
Trieste.
Rome.
But
Oh
if,
wait, hang on. Have you not moved forward to the fall? You're just
I'm getting to now, yeah.
okay. Hang on. Are you predicting?
Yeah, I'm looking at it just now. So, okay, Ionian, cool. Naples bounced Tuscany out of Rome. Good job,
Yeah.
Italy.
They both go in. I think
And Vienna guessed right with Trieste.
the Italian move there was very optimistic, but I also can't really blame the Italian for going for it because like they're on one center in summer squares. It's like
They're going to be getting 0.02 or 0.01 points. Who cares?
yes, so you kind of want to just hey, if I grab Rome here, I get a build, and then maybe I can get
And
back onto the map.
again, incidentally, right, you actually want the highest player person to do better because it's like this score. I mean, this result maybe is not good enough. Like, so okay, if Turkey or Italy would like Turkey to solo this game because then Turkey's out of the way, right? That's fine. They're gonna have a good result. They're gonna make top board, but then everybody else on the board has exactly the same result as you. So there are six
Yeah,
other people who are in your same boat, and you can compete against them still, and you can still. There's more space available. Whereas in a game like this, um, again, I need to do some calculations before I actually make that assertion because it's possible that like 13-7 or 13-8-6, whatever the numbers are going to be at the end, isn't a truly crushing score in SOS. I think it's going to be a great score for Turkey. I think it's going to be a crushing one. It's going to basically get them to the top board, but you've just also given away a few extra points to other people. I'm saying top board like it's a
yeah.
normal tournament.
Yeah,
Where
I
there's
don't
like
think it's a top
whatever.
one. So I think your reasoning absolutely stands in a normal tournament. The two differences here are that a it's not got a top board, so you're competing for first place ideally, or however high you're trying to get. You're not just trying to get into the top 7, which is the normal tournament stuff. And also it's a 100-game series, so you've got a lot of chances to get back into that top. Usually in a tournament, because diplomacy takes a long time, and virtual face-to-face games tend to be played over a weekend or face-to-face. The rounds they'll be like you'll get 4 games or 3 games, and that's your score. So if you get eliminated like this, you don't really have a chance at first overall. But in a 100-game series, you've still got a shot at first, so you want to try and minimize the top person's score, probably. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
really you want
it's.
to
I mean,
try.
there's probably some level of like minutia here where you can run the math on it and see how big of a swing it's okay. Because if it was I think you would hate a 3-way draw, right? If it got to like a true perfect 3-way where you have like one center, I think that's a really really bad result for you because 3 people getting 33 points I think is a lot to come back from. But again, maybe your point of just how big the thing is wrong, and the pool doesn't change. Yeah, maybe never throwing. I don't know. You have to do the math to figure it out, but whatever. Italy is again. They maybe could have taken their center back, and that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Should we go 1910?
Well, let's have a look at what happened in the north first. Very briefly, I do lose the guess here. I got Holland correct, but then went to the wrong place with Munich. So England is in Kiel. And that is the story of the north. Also,
Yep.
England taps Belgium, which makes sense, because just in case France throws a support hold on Holland.
I guess. What about just convoying to Brest or something? I don't know. Whatever. This is fine.
Yeah. It's like a non-aggressive aggressive move against the French, right? It's saying I am only doing this because I need to take Holland. It's not that I am attacking you. It's just that
I
I
mean, but
want
Belgium could
Holland.
totally be supporting London to Holland.
Oh yeah, that's also true.
Whatever. It's fine. Who cares? You know what?
Okay.
Not
Oh yeah,
important.
and the other thing is Russia missed the support up to St. Petersburg that I threw to try and get
Yeah,
them.
because it was Sevastopol was lost anyway, so might as well throw it in.
Yep. But
Okay, that's good. I
okay.
like it.
So
Do you die?
let's
Does
go.
do you, are you saved?
Let's go
Does
ahead.
the game
Winter
end? Let's look
1909.
at Winter.
Winter in 1909. I take off Warsaw. Russia takes off a bunch. Turkey builds a bunch.
Everything? No,
Um,
Moscow's still on the board. Okay.
and through to 1910. Game has not ended yet.
Oh no.
So I'm
Oh.
very sad right now.
Because now Holland is lost.
Yep.
Munich and Berlin might be lost. Oh dear.
I should
Oh
have.
dear, oh dear.
This was another guess, as it turns out. I could have triple supported into Kiel and gotten that back here. But I
But whatever,
misguessed
man.
again. I did at least stop Holland getting blown up.
Yeah, but man, okay, that's rough. And then Warsaw's gonna fall. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Has Moscow bounced Ukraine? How lucky.
Yeah, Russia
That's
being
good.
really nice here, and helping me out. I was
Yeah,
hoping they'd support me into St. Petersburg, but
I think
obviously
you'd
that.
rather this happen
Yeah.
because
There's the
now you can
option
still
for.
cover Warsaw.
Yeah,
Again, right?
absolutely.
These are the points where it's really weird for the scoring system. Like, you would happily trade away a dot for Turkey not getting another dot.
Yep.
It's just so weird
It's like,
how that
for
happens
me,
sometimes.
losing a dot probably decreases my score by like 2 points at this point, maybe 3 points. Whereas it boosts Turkey's score by, something like 10, maybe, and just takes all of the extra from everyone else. So everyone should be trying to stop Turkey gaining any more supply centers here, which is exactly what Russia is doing, to be fair. Although they're also
Yeah,
just trying to protect Moscow.
yeah, I think Russia's playing okay.
Yep,
But yeah, we look at the south. Looks like Turkey's going to get Naples. Just double support into Naples, and that's going to be it.
yep. And France supported the wrong way into Turanian if they were trying to stop that from happening. If they had gone in from Western Med here, they would have had a guess on keeping Italy in Naples, or
That would have
Turkey.
risked potentially Tunis, though.
Yeah, and actually, uh, Turkey could have retreated to Lyon here too, which would have been very awkward if France had pushed their fleets forward.
Yeah, and if they hadn't moved back to Gascony, because then the retreat
Yep,
to Lyon just means they walk into Spain potentially if they take from Western Med. But look at this is fine. They get to Rome, they take Naples, so that's going to be 14 for Turkey. Do I see 15 anywhere? I do not.
you are the
Okay,
auction
so Turkey's
auction Ezio.
Turkey's
Okay,
gonna
Turkey,
be
14, 14, 14. Do I see a 15? Do I see a 15? 15 might be Warsaw. No, it's probably not going to be Warsaw here. Let's go ahead to fall 1910.
yeah.
Um,
Yep, nothing happens. Nothing happens. Self bounce in Warsaw. I mean, look, if this game's not ending right, then are we going to
yeah,
see a solo?
that is not a
Warsaw goes
self bounce
Naples.
in Warsaw. That is a like Russia trying to grab a dot and me also trying to make sure that Turkey doesn't get a dot. Um,
Yep, that's fine. It's essentially self bounce. Hey, England takes Brest, goes up to 9. I mean, that's actually a good score. That's hilarious.
yeah, they're going up to 10 even because they're getting Holland as well.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
I think,
Wow, that's going to be like two thirds, one third, zero, basically.
yeah. I mean, as see, this caused a great deal of debate after the game, because moving into Brest here as England, you've got to imagine that makes France throw, right? Or at least gets France very, very irritated with you. It's not a.
It's the right move, right?
Is it just straight up the right move? It gives you a lot of points, but it risks you getting zero if the game goes on too long, right?
But we know the game, right? Like, it's
It is
how much longer,
1910.
how many years does it take for Turkey to solo from here?
It's a good question. So Turkey can relatively easily get Warsaw and Moscow. We can just ignore those. They Let's assume that France is annoyed enough with England that they turn around and give centers.
But like,
Yeah,
okay, I mean, if we're doing that though, right? By the way, France is just giving away all of their points because on this board, as it stands, right, like 196 plus 100, 296, so 300. France is getting a little over 10 points from this pot, right? Maybe a little under 10 points.
something like that. Um,
And so France throwing like 10 points, it's obviously a really bad score. Obviously, you're not happy with 10 points,
it's a lot better than
but
zero.
it's much better than zero.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
it's like throwing a six center position is just a lot to throw. If it was like a two center France or a three center France, I think you have a much more valid argument about the throws. Because really, yeah, going from me getting whatever 0.2 points to getting nothing to mean you who went from 45. Again, I'm doing the points now not as like the squares, but as like the actual points in game, right?
Yeah.
It's a much bigger deal. I think this stab was just a good move from England. I think France should have covered it.
Yeah, I guess that's
What else was
correct,
Gascony? What did
probably.
Gascony do?
I Yeah, it
It
bounced
self bounced in Marseille. Come on.
it self-bounced Marseille. I
Yeah.
See, I think you've talked me around. I really, really disliked this move at the time, and I know France also very much disliked it and was going,
Yeah, because it
you
got
know,
him.
England, this is a flaw in the bot, but maybe it's not a flaw in the bot. Maybe it's just good play. Uh, I don't know. I would not have done this as England. I would have been too terrified that, France was going to abandon the line
Either
up
10
front.
points just because they're pissed at you. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Thing is, as France, I would not turn around on this. That's also true. But then I like points, so
Exactly. And so, I mean, I think it's just good play. I think the bad play was not covering Brest. Right?
okay,
The self bounce in Marseille did nothing. Just cover Brest. Use your unit that way.
that's fair. Um, and yeah,
Okay, but does the game end, right? Does anyone get punished? I assume it doesn't because you guys were talking about the last move of the game. And
well,
yeah, no,
that
okay.
is winter comes through, and then the game ends there. That is, yeah, that is the end. Um, Spring 1911 is when the game is called. So after 1910, with Turkey on 14, England on 10, they did get quite close to that Turkish count. It's still going to be significantly less points because of the way Summer Squares works, but it's
Yeah,
something.
it's like, again, I think it's going to be something close to like a little less than two thirds to a little less than one third to a little less than 10 to a little less than 1/10.
Yes,
And then
and
the rest
then
gets picked up with you guys.
me and Russia get basically nothing out of this, except the knowledge that we at least survived.
Yep, rip
um,
Austria and rip Italy.
yes. Uh,
See, when humans attack each other as Austria and Italy, they just always lose every game.
It does seem so. Well, I mean, I've seen plenty of Italy's successfully attack Austria, right? I haven't seen that many Austrias successfully attack Italy in the early game, at
That's
least.
true.
But yeah. So, yes, this has been game two, and that was interesting play by the bot that resulted in a very
I
good
think
score.
most of the play from the ball was terrible.
Yeah. It started getting good once it found an opportunity to expand, I guess. Which
Yeah, I
interestingly
think
was
it
when it.
stabbed in Denmark when it walked in Denmark. Right, that was when things started looking up for it. I
Yes.
think actually maybe it was a little sooner. Maybe it was once they actually got into Mid Atlantic Ocean because France self bounced in Gascony because your position was so aggressive against France.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
possible. I think the whole like stabbing Denmark earlier in the game, tapping it and then keeping me out of Sweden for no reason was odd considering it was playing alliance play then, but if it hadn't done that, I think the likelihood that I would have ended on a lot more centers than I did is probably quite high, which means that the
it wouldn't
likelihood
have
that.
because your centers would have been his. Excuse me, his centers would have been yours.
Yeah, exactly. So it probably worked out better that he didn't let me into Sweden, or that it didn't let me into Sweden, which is weird.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like, I think the bot knows how to play a lot better when it's ahead, right? When it's attacking in. When it's trying to figure out what centers to go for in the first place, that's when it's kind of at its weakest.
I
At
think
least.
everyone's kind of at their weakest then. I think that's like how diplomacy works. In gunboat, it's really hard to make good decisions early.
Yeah, that's true. And like especially under this scoring system, right? Because in say draw size scoring, that would be the biggest example of this. when you're on the defensive, you can just turtle up and say, okay, I have my 3 supply centers, I have my 2 supply centers here. I'm just going to try and do everything I can to hold these until the end of the game. Whereas in Summer Squares, if you do that, yeah, you can definitely succeed at that, but you only get rewarded
You get
with like
nothing.
2 points. So you probably want to try and stay in a position that's more likely to expand, even if it results in your elimination in the meantime. That's something I find really hard to process because I value survival a lot. I'll still try to survive for zero point 0.3 points, even if it, you know, even if it's just zero point 0.3 points. But if you're playing the scoring system, then trying to take more of a risk rather than playing defensively is probably correct. Which is maybe why we see the bot do what it does. It's like, I think I'll throw everything in this direction or this direction when normal people would try and defend maybe. I don't know. That might explain what was going on with Norway at the start, because England didn't have much of a chance of turning that into more centres up there. But yeah.
It's weird that they sacked it to the fleet. That's the thing that's so weird. Like, normally England can play like this if that's an army that takes Norway. But because you built your fleet in Baltic, you ended up fighting Russia a lot over Sweden.
Yes.
So this worked out very nicely for them.
Yeah. So game 2, the bot takes.
Yeah, and then they lucked out, right? And you're right. They played in a way that if Russia just like does things differently, England just dies.
Yep. See, this is like the big thing. I think in that English position, if I was in that English position and I thought, okay, I wouldn't have been in that English position because I wouldn't have abandoned Norway like that. But let's assume that I'm in England who's
You
saying,
take over a CD position.
yeah, I'm in England who's saying I'm in a bad spot. So something's going wrong. I probably don't chuck all my fleets at France. I probably try and convoy back to the mainland to at least make sure I've got that unit there to hold my home centres before I do this. And obviously that wasn't possible for this England because they lost their unit in Norway, but that only happened because they moved everything to the French front. So, like, I don't know, maybe that's a big difference there. Because the army in the English homeland is amazing for defending it, but it's also terrible for actually getting any more centres, so yeah. But yeah, it is certainly an interesting game, and if you spotted that bot before 1903, before the end of 1903, congratulations to you, because I do not think, I would not expect a bot to play like it did. Yeah, any final thoughts, Ezio? Or shall we wrap it up here?
Let's call it.
Alright, yeah, so this was game number 2. I will link the current scores after this game in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.